in comic book land? My name is George Serrano, aka The Don, and if you're listening to this, you can only be here for one reason. It's a brand new episode of the Major Issues Podcast, brought to you each and every week by comicbookclick.com. And as always, I am never alone. Sir, if you could please introduce yourself.
It's me, Alex Garcia, aka The Cog, ready to talk about some sin stuff.
The Cog is here. He's locked and loaded, but he is not the only guest on this podcast. Ma'am, if you could please introduce yourself.
My name is Jessica Roberts, aka The Witch.
Jessica Roberts, aka The Witch, making her debut on the Major Issues Podcast. This is somebody who's done a lot of stuff behind the scenes for the overall growth of Comic Book Click, and she just couldn't let this conversation go on without her. It makes a lot of sense. This is a movie that we'll be talking about today, Sin City. And man, there's a bunch of films that I have either never seen from this era or I haven't seen in years from. And so it was decided that we would cover this in time for its 20th anniversary. And what's interesting is I didn't realize I never read the book. So I read the book and then immediately watched the film. This might be one of the most faithful adaptations in comic book history, for good or for bad. This is exactly what this book is. This is a Frank Miller love letter. I mean, every inch of this story, every inch of this book. I mean, obviously the man wrote Sin City as it stands, but when you think of creator-owned content, this is exactly how the creator wanted it. Before I continue, Alex, you are the Cog. You are the comic OG. 20 years ago in comic stores, you know, people would have been talking about the release of this film, and they would have been talking about, obviously, the stories that they were based on. What can you remember about the overall sort of scuttlebutt around this film?
Oof, a lot. I mean, Sin City, one, Frank Miller. You say that name in a comic store, people are going to talk. They're going to spout off so many titles. Daredevil, Batman, even Sin City, tons, anything that he was even remotely connected to. When Sin City was coming out month to month, that was almost the book that people went to, kind of like Preacher, where every month it was just challenging what was being put out there, because this is not Spider-Man, this is not the X-Men, this is not Superman, this is, for lack of a better word, smut, right? This is how people would have seen this. This is smut. This is who wants to read this. Is so gratuitous. It's so in your face, and it was really like on the bottom shelf, or if you remember, like back in the day, video stores, right behind the curtain kind of stuff. That's how this was treated. So I rarely saw this and it was just, waiting in your pull box. So when the movie was announced, it was refreshing. Like, oh my God, they're adapting Sin City, and but who's connected to Quentin Tarantino, Robert Rodriguez? What? And they're pulling in Frank Miller to do it too? Like, how perfect is it going to be? And this is, like you said, not probably the most faithful adaptation. This is the most faithful adaptation of any piece of work ever. Nothing has compared to it since, and I'm telling you, nothing is going to ever compare to this, which is why it's such a testament to Robert Rodriguez. Not the how people would say, what was the term you used a second ago? You used it a second ago about how people went, oh, I'm getting too excited.
No, you're good.
But this was Robert Rodriguez recognizing, yo, Frank, I'm not. This is hero worship.
Oh, a love letter is what I said. It was a love letter.
Yes, this isn't a love letter. You know what I mean? Because love letters oftentimes are, oh man, you should be recognized, or I'm recognizing you. This is Robert Rodriguez saying, no, you're on par with us. Your stuff is a movie, to the point where they didn't. There was no screenplay. There was no adaptations and discussions. It was, we're going to take your work, which is why when I was kind of making the joke while you were doing the intro of, as much as this is a movie review, this is a comic review.
Yeah,
because this is panel for panel. with the exception of some nudity, the comic book. And that's what in rewatching this for the first time in like probably 10, 15 years, it was nice to see, like, wow, this is a living comic book. But it's also got its issues.
Yeah, as most comics do, pun intended. Jessica, you are the much needed dose of estrogen on this episode, because the film alone packs a lot of testosterone, maybe more than me and Alex could provide. What's your history with this film? I know you actually have some of the collected editions of this story, which means that you read this story before I even did. What was your takeaway from your first experience, I guess, with this entire world?
I was an edgy 14-year-old when this came out, so I was completely into it, so engrossed in it. I thought it was just the coolest shit ever. I read all seven volumes, but I only bought the first three, and like the first three really encompass like the movie. So I love like the black and white noir style and stuff like that. It was too much for me, honestly, at the time. Like I just didn't understand and appreciate it at 14, 15 years old. But yeah, coming back and rewatching it as an adult has been quite an experience.
No, totally. I remember I saw this. Now, if I saw this film in theaters, I would have been 16. Um, I remember it being incredibly artistic. I remember it being violent. And I remember it being incredibly stylistic. But if you would have put a gun to my head and told me like to reiterate plot points and stuff, I got nothing. Rereading the comic before watching this film made watching the film 10, 20, 30 times easier, because I wasn't hanging on every word, because I knew what the story, where the story was going to go. And I almost wonder what the hell was the film, what did it mean to me when I was young and had no context to what the comic was about, because it jumps around without holding your hand, without straight up explaining things to you. It is unapologetically the story. So it just moves. People talk in exposition kind of ways sometimes. Everyone has an inner monologue, which I guess is the best part about this, is that I've always thought more comic book movies need inner monologue. Everyone talks to themselves in this, cold dark night, she was gorgeous. I don't know how to wrap my mind around this film, to be honest. I think I kind of love it, but it's not perfect. But I kind of love how gonzo it is. Frank Miller is a genius and was doing something that no one was doing, especially when he created those versions of Daredevil and Batman in the 80s. Come the 2000s, Frank was getting a little heavy-handed with some of his beliefs and interjecting himself in some of these stories. I think of Holy Terror, which was supposed to be his 9/11 sort of book that he did. It's supposed to be as a response of 9/11. And then this is so machismo, so testosterone. It's almost a parody. But I love its commitment. I love that he commits. I love that the director commits. I love that all the actors commit. Some of the lines in this are absolutely ridiculous, but it's the book. It's what it is. So I have a real big thing about commitment to the bit. Like that's one of my, you get 5 stars for just sticking to what you're supposed to do and continuing it. And that's what this film is. But I cannot tell you, man, some of the lines in this are bonkers. Some of the line delivery are bonkers. 2 of the protagonists, 3 maybe, are just indestructible. They're just indestructible. It doesn't matter how many times you shoot them, run them over cars, all kinds of stuff. This is everything turned up to 11. This is the comic book / comic book movie version of like Cranked. Like this is just wigged out to the 10th degree, but again, 100% how Frank would have wanted it. So it's kind of perfect in my mind. It's kind of perfectly imperfect in my mind. But after this watch, what do you think, Alex?
No, you hit it on the head. Honestly, with that, it's perfectly imperfect. In that, Frank didn't want this to be adapted.
Okay.
I don't know if you knew that story. Is Robert Rodriguez, along with Tarantino, they knew Frank's work.
Okay.
And they like secretly created the opening scenes with Josh Hartnett and I want to say Jamie Presley.
Gosh, who
With the
was that
customers
one?
always right.
One. Yeah, who was that girl in that first one? I can't remember. I'll look it up.
Yeah, I forget I forget her name, but and they did that on their own because they were contacting Frank over and over again. He was just like, "You're not adapting my work. You're not adapting my work." And then they said, "Please come out." And they flew him out and they showed him that. And once he saw that, he saw that, wow, you guys are really appreciating my work, and you're doing it panel for panel. What else do you want to do? And they were like, "We want to do everything. We want to do everything." And that's when it took off. And so that's why this is so perfect, because he loved it and just said, this is the movie. We're putting actors and putting it to life, and that's it. And but now it's to a fault almost.
Yeah,
like you said, because some of these actors should not have probably been delivering some of these lines,
right?
Or they needed better direction, and others fell perfectly into it. Powers Booth kills it in this. Benicio del Toro as Jackie kills it. Clive Owen is okay.
Marv, man, this, Marv is a human comic book character brought to light.
Mickey Rourke, this resurrected Mickey Rourke's career. This gave him the wrestler and eventually made him talk Russian in Iron Man 2.
My boy.
And my boy. Yes, everybody, even Jessica Alba, everybody for the most part kills it. Some people overdo it. And I hate to say this because I have to justify, because I know right now Bruce Willis is a sensitive subject with everything he's going through.
Yeah.
But I think now, looking back on it, this is the beginning probably of his issues.
just reading the lines as they are.
Because that's all he can do. You know what I mean? Like, it's just probably the beginning where he's, because he was probably the stiffest. And I know this is Frank's his love letter to that style of movie, those noir movies, the Casablancas, the Maltese Falcon, the Angels with Dirty Faces. I grew up watching those. So when I got to see this and then read it, it was like, oh, this is like what my dad liked and what people love, and remember from back in those days where everybody's constantly, just having light on their eyes and everything's dark. And so I get what it's doing, but it just does it a lot.
What about you, Jessica? After reading the book, after being familiar with the film, none of these images you've seen for the very first time, what was your takeaway?
I mean, I just really enjoyed it. I really, I'm glad that we read through the books beforehand. I think it helped to really see the story both in print and on the screen, and I think I have a better overall picture of what the story, more depth of what was happening with the characters and stuff. And then I accidentally watched the second film also because it just kind of played on Amazon after the first one.
Yeah.
So yeah, I felt like I was just a lot more immersed in the world and understood what everyone was going through a little bit more. This is, I think, I really get into stories with characters that feel like real people. So that's something that I've always been really into John Steinbeck, because I feel like he writes for really real characters. And I think that's something that this story really did well.
Yeah. That's the thing. I think once, and like I said, I'm all about commitment, right? I feel like once they committed to the world, everyone fit the world. Like, there's never any part where I'm like, oh my God. Like, as the people got more ridiculous, as the villains got more ridiculous, as a samurai woman shows up and halfway through the film, you're just kind of going, yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
So.
No,
yeah.
Exactly. It's the world made sense of itself.
Yes.
Because for me, as edgy and cool as it was at the time, I watch it now and go, no one talks like this. Like no one ever talked like this. We feel like people talk like this, but no one really talks. Or if you do, then you're like the dude from Grandma's Boy, you know?
Well, you know what it is. As I read through it and as I watched it, I ended up turning to Jess because it reminded me of All-Star Batman and Robin and how Frank Miller wrote Batman to be
I was gonna say Frank Miller, yeah.
Yes. So like there's a lot of his voice that it sounds like this. It sounds like Marv, I'm the goddamn Batman and this kid is my soldier in this war. It's like all this like to the 10th degree machismo, testosterone stuff. And not only that, but like every story is almost about helping a helpless woman. Right? Like a helpless either woman of the night or a child or and don't even get me. We'll talk about the whole this 19-year-old is the love of my life thing when we get to it, because man. But before we get into all that funny stuff, let's do a little bit of a recap and review. Or sorry, my homework up front is what we will do. So, Sin City, also known as Frank Miller's Sin City, is a gritty, hyper-stylized neo-noir crime anthology co-directed by Robert Rodriguez and Frank Miller, based on Miller's iconic comic series. It features a stacked cast: Jessica Alba, Mickey Rourke, Bruce Willis, Clive Owen, Elijah Wood, Rosario Dawson, and more. The film adapts 3 of Miller's biggest stories in Sin City: A Hard Goodbye, which follows Marv, an ex-con on a brutal quest for revenge; Big Fat Kill, throws Dwight into a bloody war between Old Town's prostitutes and the mob; and That Yellow Bastard, which centers on Hartigan, an aging cop protecting a girl from a monstrous killer. It's bookended by The Customer is Always Right, pulled from Booze, Broads, and Bullets. Premiering to both critical and commercial success, Sin City stood out for its striking black and white visuals with splashes of color, a faithful translation of Miller's art. It even snagged the technical grand prize at Cannes. A 2014 sequel followed, Dame to Kill for it. So it took 10 years to make the sequel, which is always a good sign. But apparently it couldn't capture the same magic. If you guys are ready, we can get super deep into our recap and review of Sin City. If you haven't seen it, spoiler alert, moving forward for this 20-year-old movie, but it's available, I want to say, on Paramount. On Paramount. And again, I don't think any spoilers would.
It's on Paramount Plus, but you can buy it on Amazon.
Okay. We all ready for a recap and review?
Let's go.
All right. So we start off with The Customer's Always Right, Part 1. The film opens with a mysterious encounter on a penthouse balcony overlooking Basin City. And it wasn't until Jessica pointed this out, I didn't know that was the actual name of the town. And then like the BA on Basin is like stricken from the sign, so it says Sin City. So at one point I asked, I'm like, is this supposed to be in Vegas? Like, is this, you know what I'm saying? Like, what is the Sin City? Vegas is considered Sin City. That has some New York vibes to it. Any major metropolis could be considered a Sin City. But yeah, this is Basin City. So I guess that answers that question there.
I think it's also a play on words, and that like the basin, like this is like the toilet.
Yeah,
the bottom.
100%.
This is not a place you want to live. This is not, and I think that's something that is a reflection on Frank. Like Frank, what were you going through at this time to develop this, and how much into politics was he? Because around the time he did this is also 300 and Xerxes and some other stuff that was just really like, whoa, like Frank, we got to sit down and talk.
It's normal men being men fighting against the system. And in this instance, the system is crooked cops. The system is BS politicians. The system is clergymen, evil clergymen. It's every bit of establishment that he can take down in this instance.
Which I love. Do you realize who played? You realize who played the priest?
Was Rutger Hauer? I get that. Oh no, the priest. The one that he shoots in the. Frank Miller.
in the confessional. That's
Yeah,
Frank
yeah,
Miller.
that's interesting. And he would want to be the one to get shot in the in the whole priest the whole priest situation. So, a suave, unnamed man known only as the salesman approaches a woman referred to as the customer. He offers her a cigarette and tells her she looks like someone tired of running. Share a passionate kiss before he shoots her, and she dies in his arms. He remarks that he'll never know what she was running from, but will cash her check in the morning. And this scene kind of just sets up how shady this world is. Moving forward, literally, 5 minutes in, 10 minutes in, we have a murder. This is also kind of highlights one thing that this film is going to end up playing around with. For the most part, in Sin City, the books, they're all black and white. I think Yellow Bastard is the splash of color that you kind of get in there. But with this film, they choose
and blood. You get the blood in every
red blood.
No, you get red blood, and not in every, but a lot. Like it
yeah. And so
besides the yellow.
But here they will accent of dress or accent somebody's eyes or accent, like they've had a lot of fun kind of just picking a singular thing on each person to kind of highlight there. But what do you think of this opener, Jess?
I don't know. The opening scene and the end just kind of did nothing for me. It's just, yeah.
Josh Hartnett picking up a check, doing 5 minutes in the beginning and 5 minutes at the end.
It's just so brief, and it's so only tangentially related to everything else going on. So
we needed and that's Sin City, baby. Like he needed to say something like that and spark a cigarette and toss it in the ambers. But yeah,
I don't know. I like that it was simple. It was
short
because you're about to be inserted in a very intense world. So this was a smooth way to just here's what's coming. Because Josh Hartnett, this is Josh Hartnett at his peak, which I'm loving right now that he's experiencing this comeback right now.
Right.
But this is at his peak. So when you say collecting a check, he was actually doing a favor. Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino called him to say, "Hey man, can you just do this quick scene for us?" And he was like, "I got you. Cool. Let me just Pearl Harbor, pause for a second. Let me come through right quick.
Walk next door."
And he went and did this scene. Yeah, he went and did this quick scene, and at the time, he's the heartthrob. I remember my girlfriend at the time, she had him on her desktop. So I remember watching this with her and being like, look, this is why you're going to like this movie. And she proceeded to hate the movie.
I mean, gosh, the dates in the theater in 2005 of guys taking, there's women you don't like Rosario Dawson, right? Like, I really wonder what conversations that drummed up. But we can go ahead and get started on the hard goodbye.
This opening scene.
Yeah, I think it serves a purpose. It's very short, but I think it does kind of set the grounds, and then we get possibly my favorite story. I think the hard goodbye is my favorite story out of the three. It might go hard goodbye, big fat kill, Yellow Bastard. Even though I like the Yellow Bastard aspects of Yellow Bastard, I can't wrap my head around this. Like, I saved this 11-year-old girl and now she's trying to make out with me thing. I couldn't shake it, but we'll get there when we get there. Let's talk about my man Marv. All right. We meet Marv, a hulking ex-convict who wakes up to find that his one night stand Goldie has been murdered beside him. Framed for her death, Marv vows to avenge her and delves into the city's underworld. His parole officer, Lucille, advises him to give it up, suggesting he may have imagined it all due to his quote-unquote condition. Marv interrogates several informants, eventually confronting a corrupt priest who reveals that the Rourke family was behind the murder. Marv kills the priest, but is attacked by a woman resembling Goldie, which he dismisses as hallucination. Cog, talk to me about Marv.
Ooh. Marv is Frank Miller saying, what if the Hulk was real? Because that's what Marv is. He's an engine of destruction.
Yeah.
That every woman is his Betty. Every woman is his Betty. I ain't hurting no woman.
Yeah.
But I'll rip this guy's head off, and I'll rip this guy's neck out, and I'll do everything to a man you can imagine.
Like, I respect women. Like, that's my friend Lucille. She's a dyke. I'm like, what's going on? What's going on here?
Right.
Hold on. What's going on here, Marv?
Yeah, but yet in the same motion, he'll rip off a guy's hand and just the guy put a guy's face in the toilet and then drag a guy across asphalt as he's driving a car.
Yeah,
and not bat an eye. But then the idea of hurting a woman, he's just like, I'll sit here and take the beating, even though I can get out of these ropes at any minute. You know what I mean?
yeah.
He's quite the character. And what I love about this is because I was a fan of Mickey Rourke before this movie. I had seen quite a few of his movies. So seeing him make a comeback, this reminds me of what Robert Downey Jr. would eventually do with his comeback. Yeah. So seeing it again for the first time for so long, considering how ever since he's kind of fallen by the wayside yet again, it was nice to see because I was like, wow, this was a hell of a performance he put on. And so seeing it, like I said, yet again, I didn't want it to stop. I didn't want it to stop because I knew what was coming, with the Yellow Bastard and even A Dame to Kill For. He needs to be remembered again. Like the fact that we were talking about it, this movie kind of has gotten forgotten.
Yeah.
I'm very happy if we just talk about his performance in this story, because this makes me want to go watch The Wrestler and even his little stints in The Expendables, where he really flexes acting chops.
Yeah.
He kills it. He kills it in this movie.
Yeah, he's great. Yes, talk to me about Marv. What do you think about this?
I would be friends with Marv. That's my buddy.
Yeah.
Like, I would be on the bar stool next to him.
Oh, he would love you. He would love you.
Me and Marv would get along very well. Yeah. It kind of going into the second movie, like, is basically him and Nancy, and Nancy wants to go out and get her revenge for what happened to John. She's heartbroken, and it's her and Marv, and like I'm so glad that I got to watch that second movie because it just made me like appreciate Marv even more. He's just such a wholesome, good dude. Like, George and I actually kind of talked a little bit about like how he just repeatedly just says like Goldie was kind to him, and like that just makes me so sad. Like, he was just so desperate for people to be kind to him, and he is just a big sweetheart, and I would be like absolutely best friends with this dude.
Yeah. And he talks like every New Yorker I've ever known, like he's like, oh, maybe I just messed up because I ain't on my pills. And I'm just like, all right, Uncle Marv, like, like he just says shit, like just says off the wall shit, like, and again, and your uncle will accidentally slip a slur in there, or accidentally slip, and you're like, okay, relax, Uncle Marv, it's gonna be a-okay. I love the design choice of the various like stitches, the bandages on his face. I think that is really it does real well, especially in the book in the black and white. Just to kind of show, he almost comes off as a Frankenstein, like a monster that no one would love, and that's how he sees himself. He even goes to great lengths to be like, I couldn't even pay a woman to be with me, kind of stuff. And to Jessica's point, like, I don't mean to insult the man, but he's a bit super simpish here because he is the one woman who is kind and nice to him, and he's willing to break. Like, at one point, he's like, yeah, I'm willing to kill, I'm willing to die. I'm like, damn, you met this girl at the club. And it is what it is. Hey, but love is love, man. Love
can
is
we
love.
talk about her? Can we talk about Goldie?
Sure.
Like, she is portrayed, she's like the only character in the movie that is fully in color, basically. Like, so what is actually so special about Goldie? What is Frank trying to say about her?
So to me, and this is like surface, I want to hope it's something deeper, but to me, she is the prize. She is the trophy. She is the angel. She is the characterization as like,
so there's so many other,
because, well, I don't think there is so many other angels. I think that the women of the night are portrayed how they are portrayed, right? In the second story.
She's the one that's with like the clergy and stuff, right? Like,
yeah,
she's
maybe
the whore that works the church.
Maybe it's because of we're seeing it from his perspective, and he perceives her to be some sort of angel. That's how I was taking it. Like,
I think it's a very stylistic choice in the movie too, because you don't see her like that in the books. She's not in color like that in the books at all.
No.
So,
but she does ride him. But everyone should know that in general when they read the book. But no, you're right. They did, and I think that adds so much because it almost is. You hear the sayings all the time when people talk flowerily about being in love and stuff, but it's like she just added color to his world, right? This black and white world that he lived in where it was good or bad, and then she just comes in and kind of messes it all up in the best way. But now he's intoxicated by this love and intoxicated by this revenge. I thought it was pretty cool. When I say cool, I mean cool in like a noir mystery kind of thing. But like as soon as he finds out that she's dead, cops are already on him, which means that whoever killed her immediately called the cops to finger it on him. And then he just like shoulder checks and drop kicks several cops with no issues. He smashes through the hood of the cop car. My man is indestructible. He is a man on a mission. He's a one-man war against crime in this instance. But it was cool to just kind of see that all that gruffness, all that machismo, all that bullet flying and blood and guts, and this is a love story. Like this is Marv trying to reach out to the one person who's nice. And then he also gets hit several times by a car, and it's absolutely fine. He gets run over several times by old girl. It's absolutely fine. And I'm interested in knowing what condition he has. That he needs to be taking pills and might forget stuff on occasion, etc. We also know that he did like a lengthy time in prison because that's what Lucille says. Like, you don't want to go back there, you'll die. And but he's fine with it. Marv goes to he ends up finding out that Adar, if something's going on, he ends up getting, like I said, gives him the name Rourke. And they know that there's a family farm where supposedly not great things are going down. So the idea is that Marv goes to the Rourke family to investigate. He ends up being subdued by a silent stalker who killed Goldie. He awakens in the basement to find Lucille has been captured after investigating his story. She tells Marv that the killer is a cannibal named Kevin and that Goldie was a prostitute. They escape, but Lucille is shot by a squad of corrupt cops. So this is one of those scenes where it's ripped straight from the comic, and maybe it should have been edited a little bit. But the whole like, he made me watch. He made me watch. That's straight from the comics. Yeah, there's a lot. There's some of that going on.
But look, see, this whole story is still pretty well acted. Carla Gugino, who again, like just seeing her, because this is a an all-star cast. This is
100%
an ensemble cast. I mean, you got Frodo, right? Elijah Wood himself, being the killer. Just being this almost what's that guy from Bates? What's his name? Bates from Psycho.
Norman Bates.
Norman Bates. Being almost like a Norman Bates, right? He seems like such a quiet kid, whatever. But he's murdering women and turning their heads into like deer mantles, trophies, and cutting off women's hands, and the way she describes it, that's horrific.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So the idea that aren't you supposed to be delivering the One Ring? Oh no, you're eating my hand.
Yes.
Oh, like come on. That's still crazy to me because Elijah Wood playing this role, and he, even though he
never does end up speaking. My favorite part about the Elijah Wood of it all is the anime glasses.
So this whole thing is playing out beautifully, and even when she tries to be the hero, which I love how, if you pay attention, speaking of like how women affect Marv, only the women can like really knock him out.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it's Goldie knocking him out with that wonderful lovemaking, which is my opinion on it. That's why he loves her so much, because she makes love to him. The other women he probably would get in his life would just screw him. They probably wouldn't even look at him, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but anyway, and so that's why he's so impassioned with it. She like taps him on the head. This dude has gotten run over, shot, jumped through windshields, and she goes, "Think." Oh. You know what I mean? He passes out, and then she thinks she's the smart one in it because Marv understands this world. Like, yo, you got to just kill everybody. We got to just eliminate everything. He's saving her, and she's like, no, I know how to handle this. I'm gonna knock you out. Oh, I have a psychology degree. Rap City.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And they just keep it moving.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you have somebody who's incredibly skilled in this. Like, she has the bona fides as a, being a member of the law, and he's like a sledgehammer. He just comes in and he clears the problem by smashing it to bits. And even in this moment here, we find somebody who is like faster. There's never any background as to why Kevin is faster, right? Like, he's just
no, he's just a freak. He's just a freak. I think I and excuse me for saying it like this, but I feel like nowadays kids will be like, "Oh, that guy's autistic."
You think Kevin's autistic?
As
nonverbal?
No, I'm just saying.
That was my first thought too. Yeah.
As a school teacher, and as like other kids would be like, "Oh, he's autistic." You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I'm not just saying. That's what they say.
And then when Lucille gets shot, I'm like, damn, that like open and shut case, I guess. Like, we just met her. She's now gunned down. It's just more ammo for, more wood for the fire that's already burning for Marv with this whole revenge boner that he has. Now he has two women that he cared for that are seemingly, taken out by Rourke and his family. Marv kills the cops except for the leader, who reveals that Cardinal Patrick Henry Rourke arranged for Goldie's murder. He goes to Old Town, Sin City's prostitute-run red light district, to learn more about Goldie, and is captured by her twin sister, Wendy. This was the woman he had been mistaking for Goldie this entire time. Again, and this is like pure Kino neo-noir, right? A twin, like her sister, like dun dun dun. Big page turner reveal here. And her sister doesn't like being called Goldie, which I'm totally buy. Like stop calling me my dead sister's name. I totally buy her boundaries there. Once he's convinced Wendy that he is not the killer, the two return to the farm where Marv traps and deals with Kevin. But before we talk about that, you were talking a little bit about this, Alex, this interrogation scene where Marv kind of just lets these women have their way with him. What do you think about this?
Mm-hmm. I thought it was great because kind of like what you're saying, how it's introduced and even how it was critically panned in some ways. Here is a scene where you're now introduced to this world of strong women. Yeah, some of them are weak, but some of them are strong. And in the same vein, you're also seeing weak men, right? Marv is running through some weak dudes at this point, shoving people's faces in toilets. But people selectively go, "Oh, see, it's all glorifying women's bodies and this, that, and the third." But here's a scene where I feel in some venues nowadays, this would be like, look at how Frank glorifies the strength and embracement of women bodies and empowerment.
Yeah,
it's all a matter of how you see it and which you want to focus on. I liked it. I remember even liking it then, being like, yeah, man, I like a soft woman because that's some people want that. But then I was also like, I was never a fan of Rosario Dawson pretty much until this movie.
Interesting.
I remember being like, yo, that's the girl from Rent. That's the girl from Rent. Like, who's okay. And now seeing her now and knowing how, like, ever since this movie, she has gone on to also become a great, I don't want to say just character actor, but I mean, like, look at the way she embodies Ahsoka now, or she's played, I can't remember the character's name, but even in Clerks, being able to play alongside that group of characters in those movies. She's a great actress who, even when I watched an interview that she gave on doing this character, where she acknowledges, like, this character is insane, but she totally gets into it. And you could, if I didn't know that, I'd be like, she must really like this character. But in the interview, she talks about it like, no, this is a crazy character. Like, Frank is out of his fucking mind for making this up. But
am I misremembering? Did he not make Selena Kyle a prostitute in Dark Knight?
In year one, that was all him. That was
in
year one.
Oh, in year one. Yes.
Yeah. And Batman Year One.
And she's a badass. She comes down to whoop Bruce Wayne's ass because Bruce Wayne is talking to Holly all crazy. So she's like, "Is there a problem here, sir?" And she goes to go whoop his ass.
I mean, think about it, right? Where's Frank Miller's from New York, and if you watch old school, if you know old school New York, I can talk about this. I knew many women in my apartment building who, as they say, turn tricks, right?
Yeah.
And no one batted an eye about it. It was a way of life. But you knew which ones you can get a free ride from and which ones you knew not to mess with. Like, yo, if you don't even walk into that apartment unless you got money in your hand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he definitely experienced that, because if you've ever seen Taxi Driver, because I love telling people, like, if you want to know old New York, just watch Taxi Driver.
Mm-hmm.
That's the pre-Giuliani New York, where Times Square was not like, oh, let's take a picture in the middle of the street.
It wasn't Disney World
behind us. No, this was that's where you went to the porno theater and to pick up a hooker and get some blow, and fall asleep in the subway.
Yeah.
So Frank grew up around that. He saw that, where he probably knew some women like that, where it's like, oh, I got an issue, but I either want to blow a load or blow a load, and depending on how I want to blow it, I can talk to Cindy or I can talk to Gina.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which I gotta ask you, what did you think about at least the female portrayal of these characters, the women of Old Town?
I love those girls. This was at a time that I think a lot of sex workers were being portrayed really positively in media. I talk about Inara from Firefly a lot. I talk about, even Mimi and Rent. But there were just so many like really strong, powerful sex workers. And that was really like eye opening for me as a young teenager too. It's really like the whole female empowerment thing, and like you can be like sexy, and the fact that they all have like a totally different style and they're all sexy, like every single one of them. They're just hot badass bitches, and they come in all shapes and sizes, and I love that. I love that, like they work together. It's like that like camaraderie thing that women don't have that a lot in real life, or at least are portrayed in media to not have that a lot. Like it's a lot of like fighting between women a lot of times, but these women don't have that. They do not fight with each other. They are sisters. It's like that strong bond between
community,
them.
right?
Yeah, and they take care of each other, and they take care of like their people
and business, because they just got this big ass man here and they whooping his ass. So I feel like I'm on both sides, because I do think that these women are portrayed to be badasses, but I also feel like both Marv and later on Dwight, they're kind of positioned to be their saviors, right? Like they're kind of positioned to help these innocent sinners that other men would just cast aside. Like Kevin's been killing prostitutes. This has not been making the news. This has not been right. These women have been discarded, killed, cut their heads off, and no one gives a damn until Marv decides to show up and stand up for these girls. And later on, the same thing happens with Dwight, where Dwight gets into a problem where there's going to be a civil war basically in Old Town between the law and the prostitutes, and he has to come in the middle and kind of make good. So I'm on both sides. I do feel like he portrays them as being strong, but also still needing a man to come in and
I think that speaks more to like his hero complex with the men, and like even though they're strong, independent, powerful, badass women, they like this man is still able to come and save them from their problem, like when it does get to it. Like so it's speaking more to like how he is empowering the men, like the male protagonists, I think. But I don't think it takes away from their in like badassness.
No, and it never took me out. I just it just reminded me that I do think that Frank has a very particular opinion on sex workers. Because like I said, I've been seeing this stuff since the Batman stuff. And he created Elektra, So it's like he created like this sexy, independent femme fatale that just enraptures Matt with her presence, with just her, her exoticness. So, yeah, again, unapologetically Frank in this moment. So, yeah. So Marv ends up trapping, and he ends up just straight up killing Kevin. This is a scene in which he talks about taking great pleasure, just hacking him to bits, cutting him up, and all that stuff. The only thing is Kevin doesn't emote. Kevin doesn't scream. Kevin doesn't yell. He just has a smile on his face, even at the very end where Marv beheads him. Marv has his head in his hands and shit. It's all very strange. I was kind of surprised at the gratuity of that, but that's straight from the comics as well. And then he just shows up with the head to the Cardinal and it's like, Kevin? No, Kevin's dead. I'm like, come on, bro. he confronts Cardinal Rourke. Cardinal Rourke is Rutger Hauer. So he confronts Cardinal Rourke, who confesses to his part in the murders. Kevin was the Cardinal's ward. The two men ate the prostitutes to consume their souls. One of the things was he was like, whenever Kevin would eat a prostitute, he would be filled with so much light. I don't know what any of that's about. I don't know. Like, this guy just kept talking, and I'm just like, yeah, go ahead, Marv. Handle his ass, because I don't understand. Like, not getting better. His explanation of eating these women is not getting any, particularly better. But this book creates a license that allows him to take
more common.
Oh no, go ahead, brother.
No, I think that's just more commentary again about how Frank Miller saw. I mean, what is still very commented on about the church, right? Of the way people in power abuse those who can't protect themselves, whether it's boys or even girls.
Yeah,
I mean, at the same time, around the same, no, not the same time, but probably inspired by Alan Moore's V for Vendetta. That classic scene where
the televangelist, right?
No, it was the priest. Remember what's her name? I'm
trying to remember yes. Evie.
Where she dresses up like a little girl.
Like a little girl, yeah.
And she goes and she like a little girl and she goes to the priest. And the whole reason he does it is so that V can then sneak in and be like, hey.
Yeah. By the way, you fucking sexual predator. Yeah.
Right. This is just more of that commentary. Those in power abuse and justify their actions on those unfortunate by saying, well, they're sanctifying themselves and them, right? They're saving them from their sins while also simultaneously engrossing themselves closer to their higher power. It's all sick shit. It's this city. It's Sin City. It's horrible. It's horrible no matter where you go. And you described Marv as the hero earlier. Would you tell your kid, hey, look up to Marv?
No.
No.
Marv wants to marry every woman he meets, which is also not a great it's also not a great sign of what's going on there. He's like, I want to kiss.
Don't get me wrong. For me in high school, it would have been great to be like, yo, anytime I had an issue, Marv, let's go.
Yeah, he'd be a great friend.
Do I want my kid? Do I want my...
Yeah.
Would he? Eventually, you might be an accessory.
Yes, exactly. And I cannot...
You said that guy was bothering you.
Yeah. And I can't run as fast as him, nor am I as bulletproof as he is. So I cannot be his accessory to anything. You're going to have to do that shit on your own, Marv.
Right. Unintentionally, right? Hey, Alex, we heard that you said you didn't like Jimmy, and Marv is saying Jimmy hit you, and you said, man, Marv helped me. Oh, shit. God damn it, Marv.
It's all right. Getting locked up. But before you get locked up, you might have a fate similar to Marv in this, because he basically, after he, gives this whole act to Cardinal Rourke, he kills him as slowly as he possibly can, soaking up all the screams and all the, I think he rips off his penis at one point. I think there's a lot of penis ripping off in this film. Maybe it's only twice, but twice is still a big coincidence in my frame of reference when it comes to this stuff. So, and he just gets gunned down. like in almost in a cartoonish fashion, in a way that a man should be killed.
But how many times by this point has he been shot?
Yeah.
And then he just wakes up.
Yeah. Yeah. You were talking back to him being a big teddy bear. He allows these women. He knows these women have a right to restrain him earlier, and have a right to want to interrogate him earlier, and he allows them to. The ropes that his restraints are, he just gets out of them later on with no issue. So yeah, it kind of like he's not obviously not a perfect protagonist, but I think just by crafting this sort of golden rule to help the vulnerable, he gets a lot of appreciation from the fan base. Because he's like, in comparison to the city, he has not let the city consume him completely yet, and that's a good point. Nursed back to health, corrupt cops threaten to kill his mother to get him to confess to killing Rourke, Kevin, and their victim. He's sentenced to death in the electric chair. Wendy visits him on death row and thanks him for avenging her sister, even allowing Marv to call her Goldie. Marv is then sent to the electric chair and executed. Jess, what do you think about this ending? In the book too, right? Because it's not like if you read the book, then you would know. But what do you think?
I mean, it's pretty spot on from the book to the movie, like everything else. I like that it takes them twice to kill him.
Me too.
I'm surprised that the second time actually works, but I think he also deserves to have some peace finally. So it's like, it's not like he dies like screaming in pain or anything. Like, it's 2 quick times and it's over, and he's finally at peace. I think he deserves that. He did his job. And
yeah.
It's sad.
Yeah.
Like, I know he's not like the best like protagonist. Like, he does a lot of awful shit too. He's a murderer, but I mean, I don't think he deserved to be set up for all that shit, and he still went out there and did what he did to like avenge Goldie, and not just avenge her, but like help all the like girls in Old Town and stuff. Like, it wasn't just about Goldie anymore. It was about all of them. And
yeah, and even by confessing, saving his mother, right? But even in his last act, him choosing to confess to these crimes ultimately ends up saving his mom, and saving another woman, another, possibly helpless woman. So, Marv goes out like a G, but like you said, I love that they have to shock him twice. The first time he does it, and it's like, that's all you guys got. And he's like, blood. I'm like, oh my God. But yeah, when I think of this movie, I think of him driving 700 miles per hour with the stitches all in his face, just motivated. I love the angular way that his prosthetics work, where his eyebrows are so sharp and the chin and the forehead and all, like literally hopped out of a comic book. I was telling Jess when we watched the film that I couldn't take this design of Marv in full sunlight for a 2-hour film, but in shadow, amazing. Amazing. All the angles, all the shadows, all that stuff. But could you imagine looking at that prosthetic, all that together in like the bright day, like in a full afternoon storytelling of this story? It wouldn't have worked. They used all of that stuff to perfection. The one scene where he just goes to Rourke's statue to shoot it in the face and then kneel in the rain. I'm like, what is going on? It's all style, but I love it, man. I'm loving the sizzle of this steak here in this moment. Really, really good stuff. And that's why I said, like, I just love like all of it. Like, got to do it. Is that girl worth dying for? Worth dying for, worth living for. Like all that inner monologue stuff is super cool.
My favorite part of his monologue, which there's so many, but the one that always just rings in my head is when he's like a cartoon character gathering all his weapons. I got my gun. I got the barbed wire. I got this weapon. I got a crowbar, and I got my mitts.
Yeah.
It's just like he's even counting. I got my hands. Like it's just so wacky, but at the same time, it shows you just this dude is focused. As crazy as he is, and I need my meds. He's focused.
I think another thing that helps this character really take off is like a huge amount of self-deprecation. He's very mean to himself. He talks very bad about himself, about his looks, about whether or not he's worth anything, about whether or not it's worth it just dying tonight. Like, and I think choosing to use what could possibly be his last day to save somebody innocent, yeah, that works. Because ultimately what we find out, and he doesn't even, there's no animosity once Marv realizes that the only reason Goldie was with him that night was because she wanted a big protector around her, because they were after her. Rourke was after her. He doesn't take that into like, damn that Goldie. He doesn't like, what'd you do, Goldie? What'd you do that you they got on your trail? You know, like he never even takes any of that as a betrayal.
Just think about it. How many other people probably would use him for protection, but just use him for protection? You know, like, oh, come on, big guy, protect me or whatever. But she still loved him. You know what I mean? And like how I described before, she made love to him. She didn't just screw him or, you know, give him a reach around.
She was nice. That's it. Sometimes, man, go out there and be nice, people, because if you never know if the person that you're nice to ends up avenging your death. That's all it takes.
I'm gonna remember that. I'm gonna remember that.
Yeah, he opened. He held open the door for me, and now I'm on my bloody revenge tour to make sure.
Yeah, I wonder. Would nowadays, like, would certain women be like, "What a tryhard! He's such a simp."
It kind of rang that way for me a little bit sometimes, bro. I'm not gonna lie. It kind of rang that. It rang that way for me when he was willing to then screw Wendy because she looked like Goldie. That's when the alarm bells went off for me, because I'm like, get a date, bro. Like, not every girl you meet is the girl that you're supposed to be sleeping with. Not every girl who talks to you. But if you've never been talked to before, I mean.
Not just that, but think about by the time that happens, how much CTE does this dude have?
Yeah. He's chewing on those pills like Tic Tacs in the car. I'm like, that's not how you take those. There's instructions on them. If you turn the bottle around, it'll tell you how many you're supposed to take. And it's usually with food. And I don't think I saw that man eat in the entire film. So that's important to say. Let's move over to the big fat kill. Shelly is being harassed by her abusive ex-boyfriend, Jackie Boy. Talks in a very weird way. Jackie Boy the entire time is talking, hey, what's going on here? There's a lot of that going on. And her boyfriend, Dwight. Oh, and Shelly, played by the immensely talented Brittany Murphy. I was so happy to see her in this. Miss her. I miss you, Murph. So it was really cool to see her. Her boyfriend, Dwight McCarthy, finally warns him to leave Shelly alone. Jackie Boy and his cronies drunk. Oh, well, let's back that up a little bit. So apparently Shelly and this man, Jackie, had a previous relationship, but as confessed to by Shelly, she was beaten that relationship. And Jackie has a wife. So Jackie would go cheat on his wife without the wife's knowledge, obviously, and then sleep with Shelly and then beat her and get drunk and always cause these scenes. So when he shows up drunk at her house, she's not down for anything that he's down for, and she has a guy in the bathroom. So I like that Clive Owen is like, oh no, he's not here by himself. Like, I can hear there's people with him. And then like it just reminds me of like how easy these abusers are, how cockroach like, right? Crawling or trying to crawl underneath the door to get in, kind of stuff. Come on, baby, and don't get me mad and all this other kind of stuff. And she kind of opens the door to placate him, and turns out that again he's not there by himself. He's there with a bunch of people, and then he hits her again. So it's like they go out of their way to show that this guy Jackie Boy is an absolute piece of trash. I believe he's played by Benicio del Toro under some heavy.
Yes, he is.
Some heavy makeup.
Yeah, he's got a nose, mostly a nose piece.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere that they wanted to go out of their way to make sure that Benicio del Toro didn't look like Benicio del Toro for that role there as Jackie Boy. But ultimately, after getting a little bit too handsy, Clive Owen, Dwight, ends up putting a razor blade to his neck and being like, you need to chill the hell out because I'm with Shelly now and you ain't gonna be touching her no more. And when Dwight gets a little bit uppity, when Jackie Boy gets a little bit, first class trip to Piss Town, because he gets put in the fucking toilet and covered with piss, basically leaves the house and is like, hey, we're gonna go. And they're like, go where? And he's like, don't even worry about it.
What I thought, because black and white makes this easy to see, but if you look closely, when he first puts his face in there, there's like a turd floating in there.
Oh no.
There is a turd that you just quickly see a big thing just float to the side. And I was like,
oh no.
But again, Frank loves toilets. This is now the second person whose face is just shoved into a toilet.
Yeah. Absolutely ridiculous. But like, yeah, I love the whole leaving with his tail between his legs, not telling his boys that he just basically got his nuts cut off in the bathroom by another dude. Doesn't even say there's another dude there. It's like, yeah, we're leaving. Jess, what do you think about this opener here? This characterization of Jackie Boy.
I think it's pretty typical. I think it's a pretty common trope, like the skeevy kind of ex-boyfriend abuser kind of guy. I've known guys like that.
Mm-hmm.
I never understand why they have this little entourage or posse basically that follow them around. I never understand. But yeah, I like Dwight. I think Dwight is a lot of fun. I like the way he hides in the bathroom. I like the way he hides on the ledge outside. I don't understand that part. Like, why even go hide again at that point? But yeah, I like Dwight's introduction here. I think it's a lot of fun.
I like when Brittany Murphy was like, don't your friends have lives? Like, why do they follow you around all the time?
Like, why are they here?
They don't got nothing to do.
This guy is not cool. There's nothing like redeemable about him. And like, as a character, it's just like, I don't know. I guess I don't like that about like the antagonist characters when they don't have that depth of like any kind of redeemable, likable character. So you're just a piece of trash. Like,
yeah. I think it's cartoonish.
I guess so. A
little bit. We like to call that the mustache twirling villain. They just serve to be a bad person and do evil things. But what ends up happening is similar to Marv. Like, this cannot stand. This affront to me and to Shelly cannot stand. And they will go into Old Town and do even worse. So I need to follow these guys and put an end to all of this. He's created a one-man crusade in this moment. He has made his decision. But what he doesn't realize is as he ends up leaving, Chetty ends up yelling something towards him. But he can't really understand because he's on adrenaline and probably some Red Bulls. And he probably heard her say he's a cock. And he's like, yeah, I know. I just met him. He's terrible. He's fucking, this guy's a jerk. I get it. Anyway, and so Jackie and his cronies drunkenly drive to Old Town. Dwight follows and sees them harass Becky, a young prostitute. Gail, the prostitute's leader, and Dwight's on and off lover, played by Rosario Dawson, also witnesses the scene. When Jackie Boy threatens Becky with a gun, Miho, a martial arts expert, kills Jackie Boy and his friends. They realize Jackie Boy is actually Detective Lieutenant Jack Rafferty of the Basin City Police, who is considered a hero cop by the press. Great reveal. Great reveal. Because again, like, the point of noir is it's supposed to get complicated. It's not supposed to be cut and dry. It's not, even though the imagery is black and white, it plays around in gray. It plays around in the smoke and the smog of the city. And this does just that. We were just rooting like hell for Dwight. He just murdered a cop. Like, that's just what happened. And now we have to deal with what could possibly come of this. Alex, what did you think of this reveal, and what do you think of how they handled Jackie Boy once he got to Old Town?
Well, first off, just applause to Benicio del Toro. He's one of those actors who just stands above in this movie, much like Mickey Rourke just did in the previous story. Benicio del Toro's been known up until this point as a character actor. Whether, if you remember Usual Suspects, the character he plays in that, he plays with the voice. The Collector in Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Magnificent, like he's known for playing these wacky roles. So the whole idea of doing this and just I loved it, and I seeing him for the first time again on the screen. I'd forgotten how good he was in this role, and then he like you guys said, I forgot even the reveal. I was like, oh shit, that's right, that's why. Because I was like you guys, like why does he have this entourage? Because I remembered this a little different, but then watching it, seeing the way he plays this out, goes, oh, this makes perfect sense. And then the way he plays this role, once he's killed, and he plays Dwight's conscience,
zombie
now,
Dwight or whatever,
zombie conscience with a freaking revolver piece stuck in his head.
Yeah.
Amazing. Just
no, it's really good. Jess, talk to me about the death of Jackie Boy here. Did he get what he got coming to him?
I have to be careful about what I say in public. Sorry. So it carries over from that original scene of like, he's just a piece of trash. Okay, he's a cop now. Like, is he any less a piece of trash? Is that somehow supposed to be a redeeming quality? Because it's not for me. It doesn't do it for me. That somehow maybe makes him worse, because all the cops are trash in Sin City, basically. I mean, they make comments every once in a while, like, oh, he could be one of the good ones. Like, but then, like, none of the characters care. They all just kill the cops anyways, because they know that they're trash. They're not redeemable people in this city. So it's like he has this entourage because he's a cop, but that's like, that makes them even worse people because he's a shitty cop. He's a shitty person. And like, I don't know, it just makes it worse for me. And I love watching Miho like
take care of business
in action. Yeah. No, I think he very much gets what he deserves. I think Dwight was also very quick to rush to Old Town because of Gail, I think. And I think that's interesting because it's like, well, what are you doing with Shelley? Like,
yeah, there's a lot of looks, a kiss even at one point. Our hearts are like fire. It's like he was just hanging out with Brittany Murphy.
Aren't you here because of your girlfriend right now? Like, this is her like ex abuser. Like, yeah, no. So did he really run off to protect Shelley, or did he hear, oh, they're going to Old Town, I gotta go take care of my real girl. I gotta go take care of Gail.
That's an interesting perspective there as well.
Jack is just trash.
I think that's one of the beautiful things about all these characters, and I think that's what Frank is trying to show. That the line I relate this to is a line that I remember hearing when I first heard it for the first time in the first Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire, where the Green Goblin is saying, "What do people love more than to see a hero rise, but to see a hero fall?" And that's everybody in Sin City. Everybody has this moment of a rise and fall, and the fall is constantly greater than the rise.
Yeah.
Until you're dead. And even with Jackie Boy at one point was a hero. He's riding that hero to his
what
death.
does that mean though in Sin City to be a hero cop?
Well, maybe he was.
When you're when all the cops are crooked, like, what does it even mean to be a hero? And like,
what is it? Hartigan.
Yeah, we'll talk about Hartigan. We'll talk about him. Is he a hero? Is he?
To your point though, the reveal of Jackie Boy being a cop is not meant to like invoke sympathy on Jackie Boy because he's a cop. I think initially it's supposed to, out of our inherent sympathy for that kind of stuff, right? But ultimately, it's more so because of the political ramifications of a cop dying in Old Town. Because apparently they've made a truce, an unwritten truce between the police force and the prostitutes in Old Town, that they, never the two shall harm one another. Because similarly, Rourke is not. It's not like a reveal that Rourke is a religious man, and we go, even the priest. No, we're like everyone here is shit. It's like he's just like an open and shut case that everyone here is kind of a piece of trash. So I like that as well. And yeah, the Jackie stuff is like the most put upon thing. Like he did all that. Like his death is directly linked to his inability to not be an asshole. He could have just been perfectly fine. Women would have slept with him in Old Town because some of them do that as part of their jobs. Had he been just a regular, sane human being who was respectful, none of this possibly could have happened. But what I love about it is if you have in your mind that this is a cop and you go back and watch, they have a lot of fun killing him. They have a lot of fun killing his ass, and then you get the review and you go,
But that's also part of the problem.
Yeah.
Right? Had they just killed him or sent them away, because Clive Owen's character Dwight is constantly saying, "Don't like." He's even trying to save him at some point. Like, yo, she just threw something in the barrel of your gun. Don't shoot yourself. Boom. He's making it worse for himself, but they're also making it worse for him, which is why then the story just gets infinitely worse for everybody, because just like in real life, lack of communication.
Yeah.
They would have just communicated better from the very beginning, none of this would have happened.
I also like that Dwight pocketed the $300 that was in his wallet. You didn't tell anybody. Hey man,
he's got to pick up smokes, man.
Finder's fee, more leather jackets. we need more leather dusters. So if the cops learn that or how Jack died, their truce with the prostitutes would end and the mob would be free to wage war on Old Town. So this is not something that they want to get out, and they have the body of this is not something that they want to get out, but they put the body of the man that they do not want found next to Clive Owen, aka Dwight's character, which I could not understand.
No, I understood immediately, especially once we see what happens with the gas tank.
Yeah. So
they set him up.
100%. He puts homeboy in the front seat and they start to drive, but all of a sudden he ends up being haunted by the corpse, kind of talking to him and kind of mocking him for being put in this position. You want to talk about the gas tank?
Well, right. The body's already there. It's to set up this beautiful scene, right? Because you kind of have to carry your sins also. That's by having it right next to you, because Dwight knows this whole fucking situation could have been averted had we just talked it out. They listened to me, but now I have to have this situation right next to me. And on top of that, the girls are like, we're trying to set this dude up because now a cop's on his tail. His gas tank is running out. How am I going to get out of this situation that they fricked me over? Which to me is again showing how powerful the girls are. They're like, yo, we know how to get out of this fucking situation. Yo, Dwight, get in the car with this guy. Yeah, you're good. Drive to the tar pits. Yeah, make sure the gas tank is freaking empty.
Yeah, that's the one thing. I'm like, you didn't check the gas, bro. You didn't check the corpse got to tell you that the gas tank is going on E.
Right.
You are not doing your job in this instance.
You're in real trouble.
Jessica, were you nervous at all with this whole gas tank situation, dead body situation going on in this car?
I love that scene. I think the absolute best part is when he slams on the brake and like hits him into the dashboard. I mean, I thought it was gonna get a lot. Like I thought from right there it was gonna like get bloody. He's gonna have to shoot this cop too, and he doesn't have room in the car. But just that move and smashing the thing into his head so it looks like he's sleeping. That's just top tier. Like I wish I was that clever. I don't think I would have that kind of skill. I think I would just be caught in that situation. But Dwight is masterful.
Yeah, we don't know much about Dwight, but he is kind of keeping his cool throughout all of this. About several murders that are going on and some body disposal. Go ahead.
Well, we do get quick details in the comic though. I didn't read this one in the comic, but I do remember panels.
Okay.
Was his face when the story starts? Wasn't his face partially bandaged?
I think in the comic.
Yeah, because he talks about, they do mention it very quickly in this.
Oh, his new face.
He has a new face.
You remember that line, Jess? Because I was like, what the hell are they talking about? A new face.
Yeah, because
yes, so that is touched on a lot more in the second movie.
And right, because he has a face change.
Right, because
like face off?
Oh God. Okay, so he had another ex-girlfriend who was trying to set him up for some shit. Mm-hmm. And then the guy with the gold eyeball. I want to say
Elijah Wood?
Oh, no,
Michael Clark Duncan's character.
Yeah.
Manute?
Manute.
Yeah, I want to say it's something about that guy like fucks Dwight up, and then he has to get like reconstructive surgery and stuff, and he doesn't want to be recognizable by them, but they recognize him anyways. It's not like it's like drastic. But I thought it was funny then that like they had a different actor in the second movie as well.
Well, no, because from what I know, even in the book, Frank draws him differently, which is another reason why they were just like, yeah, we can get a different actor because it's a different person.
Yeah.
But I like that because even the way I really liked how different Dwight was than Marv. He wasn't just another Marv, but not as strong. Like the way I say Marv was the Hulk, Dwight is a fucked up Spider-Man.
Yeah.
The way he moves around, and he's constantly getting in trouble, and he likes this girl and they like him, but he's not so likable, and he's trying to be a mediator and like, don't kill that one. Even the way he jumps off the roof, there's
a little bit of Matt there too. I think there's a little bit of Murdoch there too. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So basically, it gets to a point where it's a fight for the head of this police officer that ends up getting severed, and because the head is the proof. If the cops are able to get their hands on this head, then they can point to the prostitutes as being the ones that killed him and thus start the war. So Dwight takes the bodies to a tar pit where he's ambushed by ex-IRA mercenary hired by mob boss Wallenquist. It's funny because he shows up and he's doing the whole accent. I'm like, are they Irish mob car bombers or whatever? And it's like one's named Murphy, and they start just saying like random Ireland things as you would when you're writing exposition. And so I'm like, yeah, okay, they're supposed to be Irish mobsters. He nearly drowns in the tar before Miho saves him. The mercenaries flee to the sewer with Jackie Boy's severed head, but Dwight and Miho retrieve it and return to O-Town. Meanwhile, mob enforcer Manute, played by Michael Clark Duncan. Michael Clark Duncan kidnaps Gail. Becky threatened with the death of her mother, ends up betraying the prostitute. That's a no-go. Stitches get stitches. I feel like those girls would have taken care of her mom if she asked nice. But she drops the dime.
She says that. She says, like, what am I going to do? Move my mom into fucking Old Town? like, live in fear? Like, yeah, maybe.
You got to make your bones, though. Like, I mean, if that's the life.
Gail throws it in her face. She's like, well, you didn't give a shit about your mom. It's about the money. You want the money.
It's always about the money. It's always about the money, Goldie. Hear me? But Manute prepares the mob invasion of Old Town. Dwight trades Jackie's head for Gail's freedom, but the head is stuffed with explosives. That's also a very comic booky thing. And the old girl knows. She's like, there wasn't tape on the head before. Something's weird about this. She was having bad feelings throughout. Becky, maybe you should have used that intuition earlier when you made your alliances known. Because that kind of intuition is useful, just not on the wrong side, because those guys don't listen. But Dwight detonates it, destroying the evidence and Gail's captors. The other prostitutes gun down the mercenaries while Becky, injured in the fight, escapes. Watching these scantily clad, gorgeous women gun down these men was a very, very entertaining part of this story here. And there is a bit of a love story with Dwight and Gail where they hold each other, they embrace each other, they kiss each other, and talk about how the fire that rages between them might be a little bit too much. What did that read to you, Jess?
I mean, they're like, that's his girl. He never talks about Shelly again.
That's true.
Like, he doesn't go back to Shelly at the end and say, "I did it, baby. I got him for you." Like,
that would have been funny as hell, right?
that.
If Jackie would have been like, "What, all this for Shelly?" And he would have like, "What? Who?"
Ooh. Yeah, no, it was about Gail. He heard they're going to Old Town. He let the dude walk out of the fucking apartment. If he cared about Shelly and that dude just fucking put his hands on Shelly, he would have fucking killed him right then and there.
Interesting. This is always his boo. There's always, like I said,
it's always Shelly. It's always Gail. Yeah.
It's very Bruce and Selena, this girl that you're not supposed to be with, possibly, or that you guys might be bad for each other, but you're so enthralled with. It gets Mad and Daredevil, both characters that Frank Miller would write one day, both relationships that Frank Miller would write. So this speaks totally to all of that. And yeah, I like that Dwight didn't get anything on him, considering what happens to both Marv and to Hartigan. Dwight kind of, it was just a bad Tuesday for Dwight. He basically kind of got out of this scot-free. So, I guess he's the least touchy in this. What do you think of this ending, Hog?
I dug it, and I remember not liking this story as much.
Interesting.
20 years. I remember being like, except for the sights of certain things. I remember not liking it. But then watching it now, one, the nostalgia factor kicked in because I was a real big fan of Clive Owen, and he's kind of disappeared over the last couple of years. So seeing him again, even Michael Clark Duncan being like, oh shit, like he's another one who passed away. There's a lot of actors in this who are no longer with us.
What about the dude with the arrow through his stomach and then the arrow through his head?
That's so good.
I think that's even Frank recognizing that, hey, I have to add brevity to some of this because this is too much. So you got to add something comical in the middle of this, and something so outlandishly comical. A dude sitting there having a conversation about, should I go see a doctor? Please help me.
Yeah.
It was just so goofy. But I dug this to the point where I was really not looking forward to, because I think I'm a little confused. I think the three of us may have seen different versions of this movie because different versions do exist.
Interesting.
The version that I saw, I'm pretty sure, starts with the Hartigan story, when he first gets arrested, and then it ends later on with what happened with him finding Nancy later on.
Yeah, he just skipped over the beginning of the Hartigan story and went straight to Marv.
No, because
but it did have the young Nancy part in the beginning.
Okay, because there is another version where those two are just put together, mm-hmm. and stuff that's edited out, like deleted scenes, are put in, and you can just watch that as the hard goodbye.
Did you have any struggle with the way that this was laid out compared to it being, it is 3 different books. Those books kind of go right into each other. They're what is it called? Self-contained stories, but now they've had to find ways to break them to sort of get them all together. Did you think that worked?
Well, for me, I was fine with it because I had not read the books. I read them after the movie. But Jess, you read the books even before the movies? The movie?
Yes. I think I started reading them because I knew the movie was coming out. So I had a friend who had all the books, and then the movie was coming out and he was very excited for it. And so I think I started reading them, and then I watched the movie when it came out, and then I got really into it after that, and I started buying my own copies and stuff. When I was young, I had trouble following just the movie by itself because there's too many Rourkes.
I got confused. I
would get a little bit confused when I was younger, but now I'm pretty sure, especially after having rewatched it and stuff, like I can follow and I understand, and that's really what ties all of the stories together. I mean, besides the bar, what is the bar called? Katie's? Oh, and that was something else we didn't talk about. Like, so there's a scene where Marv talks about Katie, the bar owner, and he mentions that she is trans, but he still calls her she the whole time, and it made me so happy. I'm like, God, he's so fucking crude, and he's got so many problematic things that he says, but he still gets the fucking pronouns right for the trans person. Like,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was so important to me. Like, you're gonna call Lucille, is that her name, Lucille?
yeah,
Call her a dyke and shit, but then, like, the trans lady's still a trans lady. Like, he
yeah,
still calls her her.
yeah.
So, bravo.
There's no like gruff, chicks should be
Yeah.
chicks and dudes should be like.
Yeah,
There's
no,
none of that shit. He's just
no.
like,
It's just she's a transsexual, but whatever.
it is what
Like,
it is.
she's good by me. Like, yeah.
Which is
Like,
way tamer than she's a dyke. All that hardware is going to waste, or whatever he says about
yes.
Lucille.
Like, what the fuck, Frank?
Oh damn, that's a lot.
But yeah, he's still respecting the trans pronouns. I'm about it. Yeah. But what was the original? What
No,
were we talking about? Oh,
we're gonna do Yellow Bastard,
yeah, yeah.
part 1 and 2.
But I like the way that the bar really like carries over through all three stories. And I like that in the movie, the bar is the only time that like the lighting is kind of just slightly warm to where you see like the color of their skin just a little bit in like only when they're in the bar. They kind of
Yeah.
just have that warm glow to them. It's like I don't know. It's just
No,
everything's
like almost
centered
like
there.
like an ethereal sort of
Hmm.
feel of that whole background. And again, like people speak of this bar like it's a level of freedom. This is not where the cops are gonna come in and get crazy. This is not where like this is where a lot of people can kind of let their hair down. Um, so I
Yeah,
just love that it's a central point. Like everyone has at least rubbed shoulders with somebody at that bar at one point.
That, and it's kind of like in the John Wick movies, right? The hotel.
Yeah.
You don't do stuff at the hotel, you don't do stuff at the bar. You know, that's again old school storytelling where everybody knows, hey, there's the spot where nothing can go off, not just because the characters need that, but even the writer needs that. The writer needs a place where, okay, the shit's not hitting the fan. This is where I can have the characters chill out and I can just kind of have dialogue and just set the mood.
Yeah.
So it's a fun place.
Yeah. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and tackle the final story in this, the Yellow Bastard. Where on the docks of Sin City, aging police officer John Hartigan, played by Bruce Willis, tries to stop a serial child killer, Rourke Jr., from assaulting and killing his fourth known victim, 11-year-old Nancy Callahan. Jr. is the son of corrupt and powerful senator, Rourke, who has bribed Hartigan's corrupt partner Bob to cover up his son's crimes. Bob tries to persuade Hartigan to walk away, but Hartigan ends up knocking him out. Hartigan, fighting pain from a bad heart, heads to the warehouse where Rourke Jr. is holding Nancy. After defeating his accomplices, Hartigan confronts Jr. and shoots off his ear, hand, and genitals. Because when you're looking at a man to shoot a man, those are the key points. Never center mass. Genitals. Where did I leave off on genitals? Okay, Bob, now recovered, arrives and shoots Hartigan in the back. As the sirens approach, Bob leaves and Nancy lies down in Hartigan's lap. Hartigan passes out, reasoning his death is a fair trade for the girls. I probably had as much animosity towards Bob as I did towards the Yellow Bastard. I'm like, what a son of a bitch here. Like, it's one. Okay, I'm not gonna say it's one thing that is worse or better, but one man is committing an atrocious crime, and the fact that you are not only going to look away, but going to ensure others look away as well, under the threat of death, is jacked up. Bob is played by Mark Marston.
Michael Madsen.
Michael Madsen. And I heard that he got the role because he walked up on Kill Bill 2 on Robert Rodriguez and was like, "So why don't I have a role in your movie?" And he was like, "You want a role in my movie?" He was like, "Yeah." He was like, "I haven't casted Bob yet." He was like, "Okay, I'll be Bob." And that was it. That's how I got the job.
Yeah. I mean, Tarantino is also involved in this, and Michael
Yeah.
Madsen is one of his actors. He
100%.
played Mr. What color was he in Reservoir Dogs? I forget.
I'm gonna get
blue?
yelled at for that. I'm gonna get yelled.
Oh no! Is Dan watching? Dan, we're sorry.
Dan, answer the question from afar.
Well, he has that great scene in Reservoir Dogs where he cuts the guy's ear off and sets him on fire. I forget what color he was, but anyway,
I feel like he's white.
He's one. He might have been
blonde, Mr. Blonde.
Mr. Blonde. So he plays that perfectly. And then I feel like Tarantino or Rodriguez say you can be in this movie, but he does not pull off his lines well.
No, this was the part.
You got a bum ticker.
Yeah,
you're pushing 60.
Yeah, this is all exposition also too, right? This is all like I love it. And again, like we already just dealt with like this unkillable, gruff, self-deprecating man who is kind of sort of in love, and so this kind of felt similar to that. And just giving him like the out of the heart attack, like that always being a ticking clock in the background while all this is going on. You're just waiting for it to kind of go off. Obviously, there's historical relevance to covering up the crimes of very powerful people, or maybe even just their sons. That's been since the dawn of time. So I like that they touched on that here, but I cannot wrap my mind around how I'm supposed to feel about Nancy Hartigan. But before we get to old Nancy and Hartigan, what do you think of this opener, Jess?
Have a drink. Have a drink.
What do you think about Hartigan?
I'm confused by Bruce Willis in the first place. Like I don't know. I don't think I pictured him as John in the first place.
Okay. Do you have other actors floating in your head right now?
No, not at all.
Okay, just curious.
I don't watch a lot of movies and like know a lot of actors in the first place. Okay. But I don't know. He just didn't seem right to me. But I don't know, just John's character overall is just weird. He's a weird dude. He's old, he's like close to retiring, he doesn't want to retire. I don't know too many people who are that old that don't want to retire in the first place. Like normally people start talking about it in their like mid 50s, like they're excited to be done with this corporate bullshit. But like I feel like it was very rushed. Like where does he even get this like Nancy thing? Is it just something he read in the newspaper? Does it really say like where he got this? What does it say?
It says that it's a cold case.
How is it a fucking cold case? And it's
happening now it's being covered up.
He's like, I was just driving around thinking about that cold case, 11-year-old girl, Nancy, whatever.
Yeah, that just none of this is right. Like a cold case is something that has been investigated. This is like literally like she was just kidnapped. How is that a cold case?
They did make it seem like she's been kidnapped a while.
Now about to be raped.
Yeah.
So how is this a cold case to me?
It's interesting because you're right. They make it seem like
he's just driving home one day he gets to work and he's on patrol and he's like, I'm going to go check out this one place where this cold case, like this, just the whole thing is just, I don't like it. I don't like this whole scene. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. Well, are you on the other side of that coin, Cog?
And for that, I mean, I'm excusing maybe Frank's lack of knowledge with what a cold case means.
Right.
I guess.
Mm-hmm. He's just using. He's like, oh, I'm just going to call it a cold case because he's describing the feeling of it and not the time. It's kind of like George Lucas saying, Han Solo did the
parsecs,
the parsecs, right? Kind of thing. So I don't mind it. My biggest issue with this, which becomes, for us, hindsight is 2020, but I think that's why they did this in the movie, why they would cut this story in half the way they did, because to bookend it with two different stories, whether the first one being the customer was always right, and now with the that yellow bastard, is because they recognize to me that the first half of the story is stronger than the second half, and the second half also has a lot more controversy to it.
Yes, I would agree.
so I'm fine with whatever it is they stitch this together, and I do believe them putting Bruce Willis in this movie is what helped get this movie going. And then
Okay.
once they made this movie, they realized, oh shit, that weird guy Mickey Rourke that we got in here, he's the reason this movie sold. But if you look at the posters, like the one behind you, Bruce Willis is front and center, man.
Yeah.
He's the name in this movie. But
Yeah.
they had to figure out a way to make him work. But then once everything was filmed, like, okay, well, how do we make sure that everybody sees Mickey Rourke as Marv in this? So they re-edited it and broke it in half like that. Because to me, that's it. I think in the happenstance of it or the accident of it, it made it better because they realized wow, okay, this is great. Because I think when they filmed it, they recognized, like, yo, Bruce, the fuck you doing, man?
Yeah.
But because it's just the way it happened. I think I have no way to back this up. I did not look that. I saw some documents, a documentary on it a little bit, some behind the scenes. But I mean, why else do this? Why have two bookends like that?
It is kind of strange. I think my biggest criticism, besides some of the ick, is that this story does feel, in my opinion, very similar to the Marv story. Of like, saving this innocent person, getting gunned down, waking up in the hospital where they tell you have to confess because of the powers that be being around you and threatening people around. Like, there's a lot of elements to the point where I was starting getting confused. I'm like, is Bruce Willis the one that takes out Kevin? I'm confused here. Like, what? Because I felt like it was kind of, and then he's going to fight him. A Rourke. That's the whole point of this, is that the Rourkes are thing. He's kind of indestructible, even though he's 70 and has a heart condition. He kind of is indestructible. He gets gunned down even when he got gunned down initially. He got gunned down at that boardwalk or whatever the fuck.
Walk, right.
And he kind of just dealt with it. But it's all the, like, I think, like you said, I agree that the first half is strong because I think, who would have an issue with a cop going out of his way to save a girl from being sexually assaulted and then murdered? That is par for the course. Makes 110%. It's when things kind of dip into the romance that I feel like things get a little bit off into the weeds. And again, I don't know how we're supposed to feel. I almost wondered, like you guys were saying, how much of the casting of Bruce Willis was for that role as well. In the sense, like, he's like everyone's dad, and like we would see that he wouldn't be down for that, and eventually he would, kind of push her aside, and because he's one that we respect, and thus in this film is also someone that would, kind of push somebody. Because if it was Kevin Spacey, we'd be in a whole different situation.
We're having a different conversation.
Yeah.
But let's talk a little bit more about this, because
Make me.
I have problems also with the fact that John has this wife, and there is a comment about, so he's like 60 years old, right?
When he's shot.
Yeah. And he's still with his wife at that point.
Yes.
And then when he gets out 8 years later, he finds out that his wife has had, she's remarried and she has 2 children now. So how old is his wife? Because
right.
60-year-old
starts
man
having kids,
has a wife who is just now having 2 kids. She's not in her 50s. She's probably not in her 40s having 2 kids.
So are you suggesting
his wife?
This is the breadcrumb trail? Is that what you're saying? Like, we should have been kind of sussing this from the beginning about what's up with Mr.
Why was he so
Hartigan?
obsessed with finding this 11-year-old girl in the first place? How did he find her so quickly when it was a cold case? Like, I don't know. This whole guy, I'm not feeling. I'm not a John Hartigan fan.
I'm going to play devil's advocate yet again.
Hartigan's advocate.
Not just
Miller's advocate. Miller's advocate.
Frank Miller.
Yeah,
Frank Miller's advocate.
Miller.
Because if you watch all old school movies, and even in a lot of ways, it still happens nowadays. It just, I feel like Botox and plastic surgery help cover everything up more. Is that this happens a lot. Older men, for whatever reason, divorce their wives, or their wives die, or whatever, or they just choose to get married later. they eventually then, of course, want to get a younger woman because they finally want to have some kids. So that's probably what happened with his first wife, right? He's in his 40s, 50s. He meets a 25-year-old woman. Easy thing to take care of. Take her out. Remember, this is Sin City.
Yeah.
He's a well-paid cop. He's got a good job, quote unquote. So he finds one girl he can save. Because we never meet Eileen, but he's like, oh, he speaks well of her.
We
even
do. We
after...
see her in the hospital, right?
Do we in the comic?
Yeah.
You see her?
I don't know, but I will look right now.
I know we see her in the comic because she says they're telling me that you did these things to this girl.
Yeah. She's in the movie. That seems in the movie too.
Yes. Yeah, I barely remember it. But we barely get it. But she's probably the best person, right? He talks well of her. She has 2 kids.
Yeah.
Nothing else happens to this woman. And now he's coming out of jail and seeing Nancy, who's now I was really hoping they didn't say a number, but once he says 19, I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ.
It's just rough. The line is, she's filled out. And I'm just like,
she grew up and filled out.
I'm like, that. I just
filled out implies that there was some kind of like shape that you were planning on her filling into in the first place. So
well,
this also has Leon.
Frank doesn't hold back in the way he draws her.
No, he does not. This 19-year-old girl.
Which I'm very impressed, because this is probably smack in the middle of when Me Too was happening. The whole women being
coming out with their assault stories.
Not coming out with it, but when it was happening. Because think about it, how easily would it have been for them to be like, Jessica Alba, you got to be topless for this role? When was it happening? Jess, I see you making a face. When would they say that women were being told they had to be sexy and naked?
I mean, I felt like that was forever. I just felt like Me Too was when people were coming out.
When it was all coming out. But I mean,
it's not a time period. Yeah, that's a forever thing.
That's right. But I'm saying, but look, in this movie, considering how they could have pushed it, like, as risque as Rosario Dawson.
That is my favorite thing also, because we kind of talked about, we couldn't remember if Jessica Alba was topless or not in this movie, and I fucking love that she wasn't. Right. I love that, because it is like this 19-year-old, that's a fucking little teenager. What? Ew. Like, but right.
She also would have been 24 when she prayed.
Yeah.
Look it up.
She still looks 24.
That's my Sue Storm.
I haven't seen it recently. But yeah, I don't know. Hartigan just, and then the fact that he just rushes to her like immediately when he gets out of jail. I know the dude comes to like the jail and like threatens her and tricks him into it and shit, but like
well, it's also
he tries to leave without her seeing him, even though he then puts his face in the light. But
yeah, exactly. Like, you didn't try too hard there, buddy.
Right.
Yeah, I had to look back at her one last time. Like,
it's the rope.
Hey man, the guy was in prison for like 10 years. 8. You rounded up.
So yeah, Hartigan is recovering in a hospital where Senator Rourke informs him that Junior is in a coma and that the Rourke legacy is in serious jeopardy because he has no penis. I want to get that out there. Hartigan was framed for Junior's crimes. If he tells anyone the truth, his family will die. So they are to save his family or to save them from danger. He has admitted to sexually assaulting this young girl. That is the story that they're going with. He's become a disgrace cop. His wife asks him while on bedside about it, and he doesn't tell her anything. And she leaves the hospital believing that he might have sexually assaulted an 11-year-old girl. And then he marries and has 2 children, completely forgets about him, as you would if you ever found out that your partner might be a child molester. Nancy, though, comes up to him and is like, yo, everyone's saying that you did these bad things to me, but you didn't. Again, weird on the writing, but she's like, I'm a virgin. I'm still a virgin. I'm like, you're 11. Like, everyone in the room relax. I don't think an 11-year-old would admit that, but
Yeah, that's not how 11-year-olds talk at all. It was not how they talked then, and it is not now. And I think it is a good thing.
You
No, I
guys both
think it's
work
a
in the
good
school.
thing that Frank Miller does not speak like an 11-year-old girl. That's fine. He can be bad at writing an 11-year-old child's voice. That's fine.
That's
Sure,
fair.
but we both know plenty of kids who do speak this way now.
Not just like that they talk about like whether or not they've had sex and stuff, sure, but not the way that Nancy speaks in the book, and it's line for line in the movie pretty much the same way. It's just very like this is written by a grown man. I don't know. It's just it's very funny. Like yeah, they would definitely like just the slang isn't right. The lingo. She wouldn't be like I'm a virgin. Like it was just very funny.
There are a lot of elements to this on the outside that I do think are sweet. I think the idea that she decides that she's going to write him a letter every week, regardless, knowing that he wasn't the person that assaulted her, knowing that he's gonna go basically possibly die with this secret. She endangers herself by writing these letters to him as a thank you. And I want to believe in a fatherly way, is happy to get these letters, happy to hear about how she's doing in school, happy to hear about how she's doing, and she's been out since now she has a second lease on life because of him. So I think all that kind of is sweet. I just don't know where we get off on the left turn of like romance. That's the only part. Like if this would have been like a lone wolf and cub kind of situation, I'm down. Like I'm down, 10 toes down. But this feels like that weird, like Leon the Professional sort of.
Well, it's
stuff.
right, but why? Think about it. Leon the Professional is a perfect comparison.
Yeah.
Right. What happens to both of these characters? All because she mentions it quickly as a kid. She's like, even my parents are telling me I gotta lie because they're offering them money and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they get rid of her eventually or something like that because she ends up with the at the bar.
Yes.
And stuff like that. Same thing happens in Leon the Professional. All her family gets killed. Someone saves her. Right? That's Florence Nightingale reverse, I guess. Right?
I get what you're saying. I get what
You know what I mean? I'm not saying it's right. I am not saying it's right.
No, 100%. No, I totally get it. Without family, these men become family, and sometimes those lines get blurred. It doesn't happen to everybody, but it definitely happened to Nancy in this instance because she couldn't even see other boys her age as worthy.
And she talks about this. She's like,
yes.
I dated other people, and I thought I was in love, but the whole time I was in love with this person that saved I wouldn't be here without you.
Yeah.
And then this is also, you could say it's a dumb young woman, right? Like Jess mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't know what the hell she's 19.
But that's why when Hartigan's talking about like the love of my life, that's when I'm like, you understand? Like, and I know he puts her in her place at one point, but there's a point in there where he was like, she is the love of my life. And I'm like, I don't. Like you were married.
You had 60 years of life before she was born. So I don't think she was the love of your life.
Yeah, yes, I guess, but it's also this whole thing is meant to be very dramatic.
Yes.
Right, this whole noir thing.
Right.
And Bruce is showing that he can't pull off most of these lines. I feel like a different actor, and I've really been racking my brain the last 15 minutes to think of at the time who else could have played this role and pulled off the lines. And what the sad fact is, everyone who I'm thinking could do it is already in the movie doing another role.
That's funny.
Yeah. So I think when he says the love of my life, think about it. This guy's life has kind of already ended and restarted now. And he even says, the only reason I didn't kill myself was because of the letters you were sending me. He wanted his life to end. It should have ended. He thought he was dead on the pier. And then he wakes up and he's in jail. And the only reason he's staying alive or not killing himself is because of the letters she's getting. And the only reason he's being a pariah is because he knows if he says anything, it's going to also lead to her death.
Yes.
So his heart, his love, whether it's relationship love or just romantic or relationship love, or if it's him just saying, this is the love of my life. Some people some mothers are quick to say, "Oh, my son is my spirit or the love of my life," and people don't bat a freaking eye.
Yeah.
I disagree. I think people do bat an eye at that. People talk all the time about how gross it is when women say like,
My
"The
king.
only man I need is my son." Like,
There you go. Right, stuff like that. Right,
but that's
right.
gross too. Like, no, I'm sorry. You are a 60-something-year-old man. You are not hanging on these fucking 11-year-olds' letters like this. This is not normal. This is not okay.
I mean, we're seeing an overall romantic. So I was gonna say we're seeing an overall romanticization of all this stuff, right? Because ultimately, the Goldie Marv thing is not goals. Like that's not what we're supposed to want. I don't even think the other thing with Dwight and Gail, right? Like what's going on there? And then it's just problematic relationship after problematic relationship, and people romanticizing things they probably shouldn't. If I trusted Frank to know that, I would give this a bit more. You know what I'm saying? Like if I trusted Frank to be like, I'm telling stories of flawed individuals who romanticize the situations that they're in, right, I would give this a little bit more credit because that's how I recognize it. But I don't know if he even recognized it at that time, or if this 60-year-old man who is, just irresistible to this very young, hot, as portrayed in the film and as portrayed in the book, woman. I kind of feel like that's a little bit of writer interjection there or insertion there. But as far as John Hartigan is concerned, one person was considered for the role before Bruce Willis came on board. Ready to hear who it is?
Tom Cruise.
No. Tom Cruise would have been like, oh, I feel like that guy's perpetually 30. But Michael Douglas. He would have already brought the old to it, I think.
And Michael Douglas to me is a way better actor than Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could get behind that.
Ants. Just like that video of him with the ants playing the spoon on his
ants.
It's ridiculous. Ants. He receives weekly letters from Nancy as promised. After 8 years, the letters stop and he receives a severed finger instead. Hartigan confesses to all the charges leading to his parole. He searches for an adult Nancy, not knowing that he is being followed by a deformed yellow man. He eventually finds her at Katie's bar, where she has become an exotic dancer. He gets accosted by this yellow man in the prison, but we're not led to believe who he is in that moment. No. As someone who watched this movie 20 years ago, I distinctly remember a strange yellow man in this film. Like that's one of the few things I remembered. I remembered him being yellow, and I remembered him being punched to a puddle, and like the rest of his body and like his head just being a puddle. Those are the two things I remember from and obviously Jessica Alba. But yeah, this is about one of my favorite tropes. This idea that like a villain will menace or threaten a hero being like, I know exactly where your girlfriend is and I'm going to kill her at 2:00. And so the hero will run to his girlfriend, thus leading the villain right to where he wants. And now that I'm saying that, you know where I got that from? Hunchback of Notre Dame. They allow Quasimodo to go to where the gypsies are so that they could find the gypsies and like burn that whole place down. They never knew where they were, but they allowed Quasi to escape so they could find out where they were. And I like that whole very neo-noir revelation, right? Like, those son of a bitches didn't even know where she was. I led them right to her. Right. So I liked all that there. And yeah, so he ends up realizing that he was set up to lead them, whoever them is, to Nancy, and the two drive away in her car, followed by the deformed man. What did you guys think of the reunion between Nancy and John? I will start with you, Alex.
I thought it was beautiful, of course, in some way.
Yeah.
Seeing the person you saved by Sin City standards doing fairly well.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's paying her bills.
It reminded me of Family Guy, where the kids that Brian's teaching realize I could be a prostitute, I could be a drug dealer.
Oh yeah. I remember that.
Oh, Captain, my Captain. So it's like, hey, she's making money, she's protected, and at the same time, she's happy to see him, and it's I'm a dad, and if I saw my kid for the first time after so long, and they were happy to see me, it's like, oh, great. The kiss was like, holy crap!
Yeah.
Because even from an acting standpoint, Jessica Alba's 24 years old. Bruce Willis, even at this point, is probably at least 50.
Yeah.
I was like they went all for it. There was no tap. There was no, well, let's turn it around so you can't really see it.
Yeah.
It was like, hey, Jessica, in this scene, you're gonna kiss Bruce Willis. I can't imagine. This is a woman who always talks about how she got mad that they would make her get naked to be the Invisible Woman unnecessarily.
Yeah.
So now they're like, yo, go kiss that old man.
Well, 24 with the heavy hitters in Hollywood surrounding you as not only directors but writers and actors.
Mm-hmm.
You end up making a choice there in that matter, right? Or you're not going to be the girl in Sin City. You're not going to be the one with the rope. It's a fucked up position to be put in, but it's, those were the breaks in Hollywood at the time.
I wonder if that was the trade-off. I wonder if the trade-off was like, oh, look, you either got to be naked, but you don't got to kiss him, or you got to kiss him, or and you can be clothed.
I am interested in what the choice was to clothe her. Now it could just be simply to get under. What was this, rated R?
This was rated R still.
Okay, maybe. Yeah, because don't they show Goldie naked?
Yes, you see her breasts. Yes.
Okay.
Lucille.
And Lucille. Okay, so.
And.
But I think
there's other girls
Jessica
got like
Alba,
and stuff.
Yeah, I think Jessica Alba could command it a bit more at that time. Whereas, look, the girl who plays Goldie, her name is
Jamie King.
Jamie King. Where is she now? Even at that time, she was kind of not that big,
right?
Just Jessica Alba's coming off of Fantastic Four, or right in the middle of Fantastic Four, I think, and a bunch of other movies that she was top tier. Honey, right, where she had the dance.
Oh, dance movies.
That movie made money.
It did, man. I saw her horror movie where she gets new eyes, but the eyes are haunted. She gets an eye transplant, but the eyes are like cursed or something like that. I think it's called The Eye.
If you would have told me that movie came out, I'd be like, you're bullshitting. It's a prank.
That's a Chat GPT movie right there. Okay, so let's wrap up this story because as they hide in a motel, Nancy confesses her love for Hartigan, who is unable to reciprocate her feelings. He tried hard, but I think he should have tried a little bit harder. The deformed man ends up ambushing Hartigan and reveals himself as Rourke Jr., disfigured by years of treatment to regenerate his body parts. To put that plainly, he is now a weird yellow man who smells absolutely terrible because they had to regrow his penis.
You mean he's that yellow bastard?
He's that yellow bastard. Dank yellow bastard. And he'll be wearing clothes. I don't know what this guy's up to, just walking around as he is, but he's a Rourke, right? So I guess.
Right.
What the hell does it matter?
I mean, he's related to Kevin, right? So.
Yeah.
He's not related to Kevin.
They go to Thanksgiving together. I think Kevin's at Thanksgiving.
They rummage in the same circles.
Man. They do that, yeah. I don't understand why he had to grow his penis back to give his father grandchildren. I'm not even sure how, that whole thing is just, none of that makes sense to me.
You got to remember, this is a movie from 20 years ago that's probably supposed to be taking place in, quote unquote, like 1970 or 60 or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the question remains, Hog. If you had no penis, would you turn yellow to get a penis?
Not just if you had no penis. If you had one and it was great and you used it for all the great things that you can use a penis for, and then it was ripped and taken away from you, would you turn yourself yellow and stinky to grow that penis back and continue?
Well, think about it. I mean, this person is demented, right?
100%.
This is a person who's, and it's established in the first half of the story that he gets off on the screaming of girls.
Yes.
That's how he gets hard. So you go to this sick, demented person and say, hey, you want to get back your favorite way of entertaining yourself? They don't care. They're not. He's not seducing women based on his looks.
But he wasn't the one who wanted it. His father wanted it. His father made him grow it back. His father went out of his way to spend a lot of money to grow his.
Yeah. So back. Sure. I mean, it's it's money. It's all right. You know what I mean? It's
Cosmetic surgery is
brutal.
You know, but the family's got money. The family's got power. I'm not saying this is cool. This is a representation of a city that's called Sin City.
Yes, and
everybody's
I on the shopping list, it's the least weird thing because also on that shopping list is trophy mounted for women's heads plaques, please.
Right.
Can I get and wolf and wolf
George,
food?
What about you? Are you turning yellow and stinky to grow your dick back?
I don't know, man.
No.
I think I'd be a monk.
No.
I think I'd be a monk. No. I think I'd monk it out.
That's two no.
No.
That's fair.
I've had a vasectomy, and there are plenty of times that kind of like the classic song "Detachable Penis" that I wish my penis was detachable.
Yeah.
So I could focus.
Yeah, fair. And he would have been fine without one. And yeah, now he has one. It's almost causing him more trouble because it only works a certain way, in a very weird, fucking fucked up way. But he's a rapist, so who fucking cares about it anyway?
But a quick side note, though, I do wonder if Leonardo DiCaprio got inspired by Hartigan.
Oh, maybe. There might be a little bit. Did they ever do a movie together, Bruce Willis and Leonardo DiCaprio?
They probably did in some way. But no, I'm saying for the fact that Leonardo DiCaprio only dates like 24-year-olds now.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, but even he knew 19 was the line. So he was like, how old was she in the movie? Oh, she was 24 playing 19. 24 is the number. 24 I will keep as my boundary.
We love you, Leo.
So what was really cool in the book What was really cool in the book.
You're too old for him.
That is true. We'll see what we can do though. We got some pull on the internet. Junior hangs Hartigan and takes Nancy away. What's super cool / interesting is in the book, he's like fading away like he's dying, and they bring up the end credits. In the book, like the book is over, like he's dead. And then you keep going and he's like, no, not yet. Or whatever the fuck. And then he like frees him. He like takes a jagged piece of glass and frees himself and shit. And I even like scrolled back up. I was like, did they just like give me a false ending? Like, and then he died. The end. But yeah, the whole credits come up, Sin City, Frank Miller, all that stuff, and then you keep reading and you realize that he's not.
Keep
so
your neck tight.
And gotta keep that neck tight. Hartigan escapes and tracks down Junior to the Rourke farm because that's where everybody's freaking chilling at. When he gets there, he fakes a heart attack, causing Junior to lower his guard. Junior is whipping Nancy? What he's doing in this instance? Like actual like bull whip, just whipping her. Mm-hmm. Hoping to invoke a scream because as the cog said earlier, that's the only way that my man can get up is if he were to hear women's screams. But knowing that, Nancy is refusing to, and she has been also told by Bruce Willis not to. So when he finally gets on it, it's over. Same thing when Marv got to the other Rourke, like it's over. These Rourkes, there's no big third act fight scene of two men in mech suits going at it. It's just big brolic guys beating the shit out of the Rourkes for being shitty people. And he castrates Junior for a second time, really just rips it off.
I was gonna say the castrate is too gentle. He rips.
Yes, he rips off his penis and then brutally beats him to death, creating just like a yellow puddle where his head used to be. And then he sends Nancy away in her car, promising to join her soon. What I didn't remember is that how the story ends, which is that knowing that Senator Rourke will never stop hunting them, Hartigan commits suicide to ensure Nancy's safety. Didn't remember that. That's pretty fucking dark. And a pretty dark moment in a comic book story, and definitely one where we're following the protagonist. But it goes to show you that this never ends in City, right?
No, it's that, and that's what it is. It's like I said, this is the constant rise, fall, rise, fall.
And these stories work better this way. I don't know if I could have done a 50-issue Sin City story. I like that these are almost disposable characters that you create, put them in a scenario, and just throw them off the cliff. And we just get these very intense stories instead of how to like plod through 20 issues to get to the end of the mystery of this neo-noir kind of.
It's very hood Grimm's fairy tales.
Yeah.
I
could dig that. But then we get to our ending. The end of The Customer is Always Right. An injured Becky departs from a hospital, talking on a cell phone with her mother. In the elevator, she encounters the salesman, dressed as a doctor. He offers her a cigarette and calls her by her name. So she abruptly ends the call with her mother. Her fate is left ambiguous, but the implication is quite clear. The salesman has come, and it's the job. And the end. But also, Becky deserves everything that she got coming to her. So I have no sympathy for her in that regard.
Becky deserved Kevin.
Yeah, I think so. That would have made a cute couple. What do you guys think about this being the ending as opposed to sorry, I just read that Alan Dershowitz is a genetic relative of Jessica Alba.
Who?
Alan Dershowitz?
Who?
Yeah.
The guy who spoke at my college graduation. We'll talk about that another time.
Yeah. We'll tell you that story. Yeah. Anyway, what do you guys think about choosing to bookend the story with this character as opposed to ending it on any one of the individual arcs between Yellow Bastard, Big Fat Kill, and I'll start with you, Alex.
It gives you a tinge of justice, because if you finish it with anything else, it's a sour ending.
You're right.
You know, you it's either Hartigan killing himself, which the way he kills himself in the movie is more brutal than the way he kills himself in the book.
Yeah.
Marv getting electrocuted to death, and I mean, I guess they could have
whatever ending you would say for Big Fat Kill of just these two people standing over the prostitutes gunning down.
That's like the other happiest ending, but even that one, you know, is it's Superman and Lois kissing over decimated Metropolis.
Yeah.
So I think them finishing it with Josh Hartnett coming in and applying one last bit of justice. It was very Departed-esque, right? Where you're like, damn, this is fucked up. How could it end like this? Oh, Wahlberg comes in and kills Matt Damon. Yay! You know, and I thought I liked that it was quick and short. And what I like about this too, because again, I like talking about the actors in this, because I don't know if you remember, but Alexis Bledel at the time was playing in Gilmore Girls. So she was so innocent. So to see her playing this,
a lady of the
night, and she's cussing, and you know, like it was fun to see. And even Nick Stahl, who played, you know, Junior, the Yellow Bastard, he played John Connor in Terminator 3: Rise of the Machines, and here he is now playing this horrible,
the worst of the worst.
Right. So I like the fact that a lot of people obviously signed up for this movie to play very fucked up characters because they just recognize the art of it.
Yeah.
And as crazy as we've said that this movie is perfectly imperfect, I like the fact that so many people were willing to go on board and give this chance, because even the second one doesn't hit as hard. It kind of took too long to come out. It didn't hit as hard. And I don't think they can make this movie now. I don't.
No, I don't think people being born today have the context of Miller as the writer that he is to kind of excuse some of this stuff here. It almost kind of reminds me of the first Transformers. Like, everyone always talks about like Bay and how he shot Megan Fox in that, because there's a very particular gaze given to that character in that film, and we all know it's from Michael, so we kind of just like we just get past that and let's get back to the story kind of stuff. And it's the same thing with Frank in this. I'm able to look past a lot of the problematic stuff because I understand him as a writer and I enjoy him as a writer. The world, the characters, the word that's coming to my mind is heightened. This is a heightened universe, heightened characters. Everything is to the extreme. Everything is, like you said, dramatic, romantic, whatever words you want to use to describe it. This is the entire genre turned up to 11. With the sex, the violence, the crimes that are being committed in here, from people eating each other to sexual assault on minors, all kinds of people ripping each other's penises off, all kinds of stuff. And so to get on that in a world where the comic book community seemingly always wants to lean to a more gritty and realistic reboot. There's nothing realistic in this movie, and I kind of loved it for that because I was living in an unrealistic world, watching unrealistic characters do unrealistic things, and I was just kind of having fun with that. Where do you sit on this ending, Jessica? You've read these books. It's hard to end anything, really, right, in a satisfying way. Do you feel like this is that happy ending that the Cog was talking about, or do you think it would have been better served ending it on any one of the individual stories told?
I do like it better as an ending than an opening. Like I don't know. I still don't. I don't think the opening.
Maybe opening only serves to have the ending. Because if he just did that, then what you would be like, why did the doctor kill her?
That's kind of what I've been thinking about as you guys were just talking and like thinking about how I feel about the ending. I feel like it does close like it's a good way to step back from the world and step out of the world. Like you feel like it's a finished piece. It's well rounded, I guess.
Yeah, and I also think by not giving us the execution, it pulls us back, and it almost tells us that this world will continue even though we're not paying attention to it. You know what I'm saying? Like she will get her just at, we don't see it, but it's obviously been alluded to. And once this film ends, this world will continue, and she'll most likely die because of it. And then I gotta ask, Jess, like you said, you have seen the sequel most recently than any one of us. What is that missing that this has? I remember hearing you say that you just weren't digging it as a story.
I don't think it was as true to the comic.
Okay.
I think it tries to have the same style, but doesn't like. I don't know. Was Frank Miller involved in the second one the same way he was involved in the first one?
I'll see what I can find.
I don't know about that kind of stuff, but I don't think that it has that same comic feel to it, and it doesn't like the monologues don't have the same feel. I think the use of color in the second one is also a bit more like there's too much of it. I think it detracts. And that was another thing I was thinking about with Goldie, because there's a girl in the second movie as well who is fully in color like Goldie is.
Okay.
And she's, I guess, kind of also just like an innocent side character. Like she's not really like in the story very much other than to serve as like a damsel in distress kind of thing, or like a girl who needs to be avenged. I don't know. I think that if it followed the book more strictly the same way the first one did, it could have been really good. I like the stories in the second one. I like the way that it continues Nancy's story, but I'm also confused a little bit about the timeline too then, because that makes me wonder about the timeline of the first one. Maybe it's kind of in reverse order.
Okay.
Because
like this would have to have taken place before Marv's death.
Yes, because it's Nancy pissed off that
Hartigan was killed.
Yeah, that John died, but it's her and Marv go out and kill people.
Right. So it would have been before Goldie.
Before Marv died, it's before Goldie. Yeah, I don't know. The timeline's very confusing.
What's interesting is I read that Robert Rodriguez didn't even want to consider it a adaptation. The word he wanted to use, the word he used for it was, it's a translation, to the point that they never had a like screenplay as a credit, because the script is the comic. They never wrote a screenplay for it. They just used the comic.
He was damn near shunned by the Directors Guild.
Oh, the screenwriters,
yeah,
Guild of America.
Because they were like, you can't give Frank Miller director's credit. He's like, I'm going to give him director's credit because I'm
shot for shot. Like literally, the books are the shot collection. Are the books?
It's him. And they were like, but he's not in the guild. You can't do that. And he said, then kick me out of the guild or take me out for now. And that's one of the reasons why Sin City wasn't even put in for any awards.
Interesting.
As far as I know, like they were just like, okay, so it's if you're not in the guild, you can't apply, which is so elitist and just bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And now, like, talking about what just recently happened with the idea that, okay, if you're gonna vote for a movie, you have to have seen it.
Yeah.
Like, what?
I think that should have been a prerequisite a long time ago. So I see here that the Long Bad Night portion of the sequel was a brand new story written. It wasn't in those books.
Interesting.
That's one, but it was written by Miller. The other interesting thing is a gentleman named William Monahan was brought in to add finishing touches, quote unquote, to Miller's screenplay, which was obviously something not done in the first one. It's literally from the book to the screen. So that sequel was meddled with a little bit.
And I mean, think about it. It's damn near 10 years later, the sequel. Things are way more sensitive. Think about 2014.
Yeah.
So Eva Green, probably demanded to be naked for her scenes. I feel like every movie she was in, but everything else I remember seeing it in theaters and feeling like, man, this doesn't feel, it feels more tame. Even though she's naked throughout like the whole movie, everything else felt like not as crazy.
Yeah, I would say that. And I love this because, like I said, to me, it feels like it's bordering parody. Like it's that extreme that it feels like it's bordering parody. So if you don't recognize that tone, people may laugh at you instead of laughing with you. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Like you may end up turning that dial way too far because you don't get what made the first one good. Now you're just doing edgy black and white, rainy scenes for no reason, no substance. It's all sizzle, no steak, and people obviously didn't like that in comparison to this one. It ends up making a lot of sense.
And speaking of people who changed their face, not that we were, but we before.
Yeah.
Thanos was in part 2.
Josh Brolin.
Josh Brolin was Dwight.
And right now we have a post taking off on Facebook because as I'm watching, I go, "Is that Nick Offerman? Is Nick Offerman in Sin City?"
Yeah.
And he's one of the Vork henchmen.
Those suits are awesome. I love the way they talk so much.
I hated reading that. I hated reading their very eloquent dialogue. That was very, very, like, he looked at a thesaurus for every single word in a regular sentence to write this dialogue here.
I think, again, that's Frank's way of just acknowledging that, people in this world who are very, very smart, they can't survive.
Yeah.
And it's probably also him, probably, that's his way of that. I can imagine those are the editors for his stories that he wrote at Marvel, who are like, you can't write it like this, but because of it's not a proper representation of the neighborhood of the time and blah blah. Or he's honestly, holy crap, he's probably making fun of Stan Lee.
Could be. So you think it's one of those like, where did your big brain get you? Like if you still got after all that, all those smarts, then where did what I mean? Because big brain get you.
Frank's got a lot of chips on his shoulder. If you've ever seen the man, and now he's flexing them even harder than ever because he's drawing these weird covers that everyone loves to shit all over. But
he's doing it with one eye closed. That's why. I don't know what's going on.
Honestly, I've heard that he's sick, but I mean, he's also up there. He's also, I think, in his 60s or maybe 70s now.
Just in time for that 19-year-old.
That's what I was gonna say the same thing. Perfect time to start fucking a 19-year-old.
Hey,
we love you, Frank.
If Bill Belichick can do it, why not Frank Miller?
It's absolutely good. Well, because he looks like Freddy Krueger now. That's my favorite part about Frank Miller. Like, for some reason, he gives me Robert Englund vibes. But he is him. Like, he is him, and this is him. This movie is him. Those books are him. In very much, I mean, to give the younger generation something to like kind of look at, in very much like the Zack Snyder's Justice League. I like that movie because it is 100% Zack Snyder. We saw what happened when you got half Zack Snyder, half Joss Whedon. That thing is a film abomination. And for all of its faults, i.e. being 4 hours long, it's concise. Like the image is concise. The artistry is all there. It is all for good or for bad Zack. And I love the freedom Frank was able to have in here. We can sit here and question whether or not he should have, but I'm glad he did. So that we can question whether or not he should have. when I now moving forward think about like faithful adaptations, this is going to be at the very top of the list. And whenever people talk about like yeah,
S tier all by itself.
oh, 100%, 100%. I like, and that's what I was saying. When I was a kid, this film is going 500 miles an hour with dialogue, exposition, and action scenes, and never stopping. As an adult, because I read the comic, I had a much more enjoyable time because I got to stop and read things I didn't understand, or right, go back and read, oh, did that really happen there? But the movie just keeps going, and it doesn't wait for you to understand. It doesn't wait for you to sympathize. It doesn't wait for you to really get what's going on. It just moves. So you got to kind of hope that you're holding on for that ride, and it's only a ride that Frank Miller. So I'm glad we pulled this one out of the gutter for good or for bad. Dusted it off, pulled it out of the toilet to cover it. And I will implore other people to see it because I like bonkers stuff. I like stuff that is gonzo and 100% unapologetic for being what it is. And I don't think he said a damn sorry once for making this book or for making this film. But we'll round this out with final thoughts. Those were kind of sort of mine. Cog, what do you got? Final thoughts on Sin City?
It's still not my cup of tea as far as reading it. Like I do own some of it now, but I remember buying the first one after seeing this and just being like, wow, okay, this is great. But I recognize the artistry behind it, and I would tell most people because this is yet another good example of something that you can hand to someone who doesn't know comics, and as long as you preempt it with, hey, this is very in your face stuff. If you like stuff like Fargo or The Sopranos or Sons of Anarchy, you'll dig this. You'll dig this, and you'll want to read more of this because this you don't have to worry about knowing a Son of Krypton or guys with jeans and blades that pop out of their hands. This is something you can enjoy and immerse yourself in, and put it down and hopefully forget it, and then read the next book.
Yeah.
If it's so I tell people I recommend it, and honestly, watch the movie. It's a piece of art. It really, really is.
Yes, first time on the cast, no pressure. Have to condense your entirety of your opinions in this one moment. The lights on bright. What are you thinking about Sin City?
I mean, I still like it just as much as ever. I think I like it more now. Like I've revisited and gotten to know the characters a little bit more deeply. I definitely want to go get those other 4 books that I don't have. I also think this was really great to tie me over while I'm waiting for that next issue of Exquisite Corpses. This is definitely in that same vibe, and I really fucking loved that first issue, and I can't wait for the next one. So, yeah, it's kind of in that same vein for me. And there's not, I don't know, I like really gory, violent things sometimes. So, yeah, this is definitely still in my wheelhouse, and really like the roots of like where I got into a lot of more violent, bloody like genre.
This film was a bit of those breadcrumbs, huh?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And I will say, and this is not hyperbole, my enjoyment of this film and how I will remember it is completely colored by the fact that I got to talk to you guys about it. I got to watch it and dissect it. I wouldn't have gone back to this movie. This movie would have been the movie I remember for being the black and white movie with Jessica Alba and the guy who gets punched who's yellow. And it would have been fine. I would have been like, yeah, I think it was fine. The creation of this gives us the outlet to go back and do research, read an entire run I never read before, and go and watch the movie with those eyes. It's funny because right now everyone is tearing down the Lilo and Stitch because apparently it's not as faithful to its original source material than than other things. And then I get like the most faithful thing ever. Like as everyone is talking about how close should things be, I basically get a shot for shot remake of this comic as a movie. And now I know where the lines are. Now I know where like Secret Invasion in name only, complete Sin City shot for shot, page for page.
I like that from now on. That should be like one of our lines where it's like, well, how faithful was it?
Yeah.
Is it Sin City faithful?
Is it Sin City?
And I feel
like that's scale of Secret Wars of Sin City.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh
like,
jeez.
I feel like most people will be like, Sin City?
Yeah, go back, check it out. And I know people are watching us right now who probably haven't seen the film and hearing us talk about it. Go out there and check that out. And when those who are hearing us in audio form when this drops, if you haven't seen it, I would implore you guys to check it out. It is one of a kind, but I guess the best way I can say, 100% one of a kind, to the point that they couldn't even make two. So, there's that there. Mm-hmm. But as they struggle to see if anything could even come close to this, we don't struggle putting out new episodes of the Major Issues podcast because they come out every single Thursday. Thank you guys for listening to this one. Not only do we do the podcast every Thursday, but we record Major Issues live on Facebook. So hello to everyone watching currently. But this episode will be produced and shot out on Thursday in audio form wherever podcasts are found. If you want to find us, just go to google.com, type in Major Issues Podcast, and we'll be the first one to pop right up. But if you have a podcast app already, like Podbean, Stitcher, Podcasts, the Apple Podcast app, TuneFind, YouTube, Spotify, or more, we're also on all of those. So check us out, Major Issues Podcast. This is episode 384, which means we have over 700 hours of content. We've been covering every major film release since 2017, and then on occasion going back and doing retro reviews like we did here. So there's a treasure trove of all unhinged commentary about some of the latest, greatest, and even some of the worst things to come to comic books and comic book media. I would implore you guys to check out the back catalog of this. And the best way to find it is go to comicbookclick.com. It's the one-stop shop for everything Comic Book Click. Articles written by us. It's where our merch store lies. And every single episode of the Major Issues podcast. So that's our home over there. We have the privilege of sharing that home with the guys over at Dirt Cheek Radio, the industry leaders in all things professional wrestling and pop culture. My boy John Escudero runs a tight ship over there, and they are constantly trying to provide you guys with post-show coverage for every single wrestling show on the on the map. And on top of that, still produce video game news, regular movie news, gossip, industry drama, all that. They, like I said, they do a great thing over there. And what I like to say is the Dirt Sheet Radio is always on. There's always something playing, so just make sure you're paying attention because those guys are doing great work over there. There's many ways you guys can support us. We do this free of charge each and every week, but if you want to toss us some smeckles, consider becoming a Patreon at patreon.com/CBC Clubhouse, where for as little as 10 cents a day, $3 a month. That's change you find in your couch if people still have change. Everyone's doing tap to pay. But
there's no more pennies.
There's no more pennies, people. So give us our dimes, man. You don't think I'm a dime? Give us our dimes. Give us your dimes. Dime a day, $3 a month. And it helps us keep our lights on here and afford the hardware and the software that we need to keep providing you guys content free of charge. Like I said, we do this as a labor of love, but any sort of financial support is appreciated because lights, cameras, and all this action does not come cheap, but we do it because we love it. So any way you can help support us, consider doing that there. Last but not least, if you have no money, times is hard. Coming up to the summer, things are getting crazy. Rate and review us on iTunes because it's the quickest way we find out as podcasters if we're doing what you guys like or what you don't. You can comment on any individual episode, and if you give us 5 stars, if that's what you think, matter of fact, pretend all the other stars don't work. When you give us 5 stars, we'll be recommended to other people who are looking for our kind of content. I've always said that we got the best product in these streets. We just got to get the product out there. So if you want to help us out and you don't have any money, tell your friend about the podcast. Tell your friend about the video series that we do. Alex's hauls that come out every single Wednesday or Thursday, where he shows the comics that he is picked up during the week, or major previews, which comes out every month. Target acquired. Or major previews, which comes out every single month, where we go out into the solicitations and look for the best comics or the comics we think are the ones you should pick up for that particular month, which is on our YouTube. We are growing exponentially. We are constantly thinking of new ways to provide you guys content. We have been having a lot of fun in the planning stages, so get ready for an entirely new chapter in Comic Book Click, and it's thanks to you guys. All the fans who reach out to us on Facebook.com/comicbookclick, Instagram on Comic Book Click, where they use that hashtag Comic Book Click to talk about the newest, hottest, latest, and greatest things, come to comic books and comic book media. We're at Major Issue CBC on Twitter. We're also at Major Issue CBC on Twitch. I got to get back to playing Daredevil in 2K. That was pretty fun. But yeah, man, this was fun. This is always fun. This is a one-of-a-kind show that only we can do here at Comic Book Click, where we talk about all this kind of stuff and men ripping off each other's penises. But I implore you guys to, again, look at our back catalog, follow us on social media, give us your dimes or not, give somebody the recommendation of the Major Issues podcast. I think those are all my plugs. Do you want the people to find you, Alex?
As always, Alexandario Gravitas on Facebook and Instagram. Or if I somehow come up as Alex Garcia, try that also. I'm still trying to figure that out.
Yeah,
but I'm also, like you said, look, I'm all over our socials. You know, like the Don said, posting about the major halls, which will be coming out very, very soon for this week. And this week was very fun and already controversial.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Wakanda
So
forever.
I Wakanda forever. So yeah, check us out as always. We got more and more stuff. What about you, Jess?
Yeah, where can the people find you if you want to be found? If you don't, you can just say you do not want to be found.
I mean, I'm on Facebook. I don't know. How do you find me?
You got to call out to her, and then you can find her. Call to the witch. Put a bunch of candles in a weird arrangement.
So you need to get a small iron cauldron and put in 3 things that you want to give as an offering to me.
Yes.
And call my name in the bathroom mirror 3 times or something.
Are you saying?
I don't know.
Are you saying say her name and she appears?
God, no.
I believe in Jessica. We've done it. It's happened.
What about your Twitch handle?
No.
Yeah. Well, I'm getting Jessica to do more stuff on our Twitch handle, Major Issue CBC. She's gonna continue to play South of Midnight. I'm gonna drag her and sit her in front of the game because she's been working very hard on not only stuff in her personal life. Congratulations on the recent graduation, but also behind the scenes, getting Comic Book Click in a better state to basically conquer the world next year. So in between that time, you will most likely see Jessica on our Twitch, Major Issue CBC. So go ahead and check that out there. But I think that might be all I got. Like I said, jump on the bandwagon. This is Babe Ruth rookie card level stuff. And get on now before the bandwagon gets full. I've been to the future where we do become the latest and greatest thing to come to comic books and comic book media, but I can't tell you how we do it. Next thing you know, The Rock's going to want to be playing Hartigan, and who knows what 19-year-old he's going to snatch up or make in a lab to get that done. You don't want to see it. So get on the bandwagon before the bandwagon gets full. See us next week, and follow all things Comic Book Click. But that's all I've got left to say. So there's nothing else, but my name is George Serrano, a.k.a. The Don.
I'm Alex Garcia, a.k.a. The Cog.
And I'm Jessica Roberts, aka The Witch.
And this has been our recap and review of Sin City. And remember, whether you change your face, you're some sort of yellow bastard, got bandages all up and down you, or just looking for a Goldie of your own, remember that we are the Click. And always remember that you, yes, you are worthy. Thanks, guys.